Naruto, Get Stronger by Hanging Up, Chapter 81. Sakura had been listening to the conversation between Yu and Kakashi. When the moonlight shone into the room from the window, it was bright in the room even though it was dark. Watching Yu and Kakashi talking, Sakura remembered the battle between Yu and Kuroki Raiga today, and the scene of suppressing the runaway Naruto. She couldn't believe that Yu, who was like a god, was so calm at this moment. When she saw the hundreds of meters-long water dragon flying across the sky, Yu standing on the sea was small but looked extremely tall. But when the battle was over, Yu returned to his usual appearance. I couldn't believe that two faces would appear on one person. The gap between them and Yu was too big. Or rather, the gap between her and Yu was too big. The tailed beast in Naruto's body made him very powerful, but not as powerful as Yu. Sasuke was also very strong, and she was the weakest in the entire team. Maybe I should really listen to Yu and learn medical ninjutsu. I'm not good at fighting, but I can be a medical ninja. At this moment, Sakura is more determined to become a medical ninja. On the other side, in a forest in the land of waves, Zabuza and Bai, who ran back from the bridge, were very grateful. Thinking of the ninjutsu released by Yu, Zabuza couldn't help but say, "What kind of monster is that kid? He actually released such a terrifying water dragon bullet technique. It's much larger than the first time I fought with him. It's only been a dozen days. How could his strength increase so quickly?" Zabuza couldn't understand why Yu's strength increased so quickly. Yu is just a genin. If we hadn't evacuated in time, we would have been killed by that guy. Zabuza said with lingering fear. When he fought with Yu before, he thought Yu was just an ordinary jonin. But the strength shown by Yu today is much stronger than him. Even Zabuza felt as if he was facing the Mizukage. Especially the water dragon bullet technique released by Yu, which was stronger than the Mizukage. The Mizukage had no way to release a water dragon bullet of more than 300 meters. The most terrifying thing was that the water dragon bullet technique released by Yu did not dissipate for a long time, and it seemed like a living water dragon. This was the most terrifying thing. When Zabuza thought of the overwhelming and turbulent scene when Yu activated the water dragon bullet to attack, he didn't think he could survive such an attack. For the first time, Zabuza felt fear for a person. Yu was definitely someone who could easily kill him. The other party was just a genin, too terrifying. Konoha is so scary. Not only does it have that little golden-haired kid, it should be the tailed beast Jinchuriki. There is also a ninjutsu that can suppress the runaway Jinchuriki kid. That kid actually killed Kuroki Raiga, so scary. With him here, how could we kill the old man who built the bridge? We can't complete this mission. Although Zabuza didn't want to admit it, he knew very well that this mission could not be completed. As long as Yu was there, completing this mission would be like going to die. Bai, who was standing aside, didn't speak. Although Yu's strength shocked him, he was more curious about why Yu blocked Naruto when he wanted to kill him. It stands to reason that he is Yu's enemy. Although Naruto is out of control, the target of the attack is him, and Yu doesn't need to block it for him. But he didn't tell Zabuza about this. He couldn't figure it out, so he stopped thinking about it. He just remembered this favor in his heart. No matter what Yu thought, Yu saved his life anyway. If Yu hadn't stopped the runaway Naruto, he would have died. At that time, his whole body was suppressed by the Nine Tails chakra and he couldn't move. In addition, the runaway Naruto attacked very fast, and he couldn't dodge. After a long time, Zabuza looked at Bai and asked, "Didn't that kid attack you?" Zabuza came to his senses, and Bai was fighting with Naruto and the others at that time. How could Bai come back safely? Bai thought for a while and said, "Not long after the blonde boy ran away, that person came. While they were fighting, I withdrew." Zabuza didn't investigate further. After all, he ran back like this at that time. The strength shown by Yu was really scary. Although Kato gave a lot, This task was impossible to complete, and it was basically a task of giving up his life. Zabuza was a traitor, so it was naturally impossible for him to fully abide by the contract with Kobo. This task is not worth it. Give up, let's leave here. Bai nodded. Where Zabuza went, he followed. But he remembered Yu in his heart. Yu was the first person who took the initiative to block danger for him. Back then, Zabuza saved him hoping that he would be a tool. And Yu didn't ask for anything from him, he just saved him. This feeling made Bai, who was originally very kind, have a great liking for Yu. This feeling was completely different from when Zabuza saved him back then. If it weren't for Zabuza, Bai would have followed Yu like Kimimaro did to Orochimaru. Of course, this was impossible. Yu stopped Naruto at that time just because he knew what Bai was like, so he didn't want Naruto to kill people indiscriminately. Just when the two were packing up and preparing to leave, the door was kicked open again. Zabuza, why did you fail again? The bridge will be built in a few days, and you can't even kill an old man, what are you doing? Kobo brought dozens of samurai this time. He was scared by Zabuza last time. It's just that Kobo doesn't know much about ninjas. There are many masters among samurai, but it is obvious that the samurai recruited by Kobo are all wandering samurai. These wandering samurai don't have much strength, let alone compared with ninjas. And Kobo thinks that with the protection of dozens of samurai, he can suppress Zabuza. But Zabuza just glanced at those samurai, and the samurai who were originally gathered around Zabuza were all frightened by his eyes and trembled all over, and ran away. Only 2 samurai who were trembling all over but gritted their teeth and didn't leave were left. These 2 were bodyguards hired by Kobo at a high price, and they still had some professional ethics. It's just their shaking legs showed that they were useless. Zabuza just had no place to vent his anger, and Kobo came to him. Zabuza walked towards Kobo with a beheading sword in his hand. He released a terrifying murderous aura. His murderous aura had no effect on Yu and Kakashi. But it was simply overwhelming for an ordinary person like Kobo. Zabuza only took a few steps, and Kobo knelt down under his murderous aura. He trembled all over and his eyes were dull. Only then did Kobo feel the horror of the Jonin. I give up this mission. You can find someone else. But I kindly remind you not to go against Kakashi and the others. With your ability, you can't hire a ninja who can deal with them. Even if you hire a few more elite Jonin, you still can't be their opponent. Zabuza walked in front of Kobo and said coldly from a high position. Chapter 82. Zabuza is an elite Jonin who has killed countless people. His murderous aura is not something that an ordinary person like Kobo can bear. Although Kobo is very unhappy with Zabuza, he doesn't dare to provoke him at this time. He is afraid that the beheading sword in Zabuza's hand will cut him in half. After a long time, Zabuza took Bai away from here, and Kobo came back to his senses. As soon as he came back to his senses, he was angry. Seeing that Zabuza was no longer around, he immediately cursed, "Damn, what a broken Jonin, pretending to be here with me. If you don't do it, there are people who will do it." As soon as Kobo finished cursing, Zabuza appeared in front of him. He looked at him coldly. Kobo knelt down again. I'm not talking about you, spare my life." Zabuza put the beheading sword on Kodo's neck. The 2 warriors wanted to take action, but just as they drew their swords, Bai suddenly appeared and held down their hands. If you don't want to die, don't act rashly. Although the 2 samurai wanted to save Kobo, they were completely controlled by Bai. The 2 were wandering samurai with low strength. They couldn't even beat the genin, let alone Bai, who had reached the level of Jonin. You have to give me 50% of the reward this time, otherwise I will take it myself. I can't guarantee that you will still be alive at that time. Zabuza's cold voice scared Kobo so much that he kowtowed and begged for mercy. I'll give it to you right away, please don't kill me. Of the dozens of samurai he brought, only 2 were left. These 2 were useless. Kobo realized how big the gap between the strength of samurai and ninja was. Only then did he realize how terrible Zabuza was. That's right. In the ninja world, many samurai were forced to become ninjas by ninjas. Not wanting to pay attention to Kobo, Zabuza and Bai left after threatening Kobo. After a long time, Kobo saw that there was really no one around, and then he lay limp on the ground. Damn, I really lost a lot. After all, Kobo is a businessman. Even at this time, he still cares about his money. After that, Kobo did not send anyone to harass the construction of the bridge. Because the construction team has always been protected by Kakashi and others. Kobo hired 2 elite Jonins but failed to kill Dazna. He knew that the ninjas hired by Dazna were very powerful, and it would be a waste of money to find ninjas to assassinate Dazna. After the bridge is built, his shipping business will definitely plummet. But what can Kobo do? He can only watch the bridge being built. These days, Yu has been learning the sealing technique with Kakashi. The difficulty of the sealing technique is indeed much higher than other ninjutsu. Kakashi talked to Yu for several days just on the theoretical principles. Yu also studied for several days, and for several days Yu did not formally learn the sealing technique. In the forest. After a few days of theoretical study, Kakashi finally began to formally teach Yu to learn the sealing technique. The first sealing technique is the sealing technique that can seal the tailed beast. The 4 symbols seal. The sealing technique that the 4th Hokage used to seal the 9 tails in Naruto's body is the 8th diagram's seal, which is a combination of 2 4 symbols seals, and is a redevelopment of the 4 symbols seal. The 4 symbols seal is the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan. The 4 symbols seal has a very high sealing strength, which is much stronger than the sealing techniques used by other ninja villages to seal the tailed beasts. This is what Killer Bee said. As long as he has learned the 4 symbols seal and can suppress the tailed beast, Yu can use this sealing technique to seal in anyone's body, including his own body. Of course, Yu will naturally not do this. Kakashi first talked to Yu about the principle for more than an hour, and then asked with expectation, Yu, did you understand? Do you have any clues? The reason why Kakashi was so expectant was because he himself didn't understand it very well. Not to mention practicing. Yu was silent for a while. Just when Kakashi was a little disappointed, Yu nodded. I'll try it. Kakashi was confused. You understand, can you do it? Yu didn't answer, but walked to the side and began to make seals with both hands. 4 symbols seal. Bang. Yu finished making seals and slapped the big tree next to him with one hand. Instantly, under Yu's palm, a seal of the 4 symbols seal appeared on the tree. The mysterious runes formed a complex rune. Kacha. With a kacha sound, the place covered by the seal suddenly disappeared, and a gap appeared in the trunk of the big tree. After the spell was completed, Yu's mouth corners slightly raised. It worked. He didn't expect to succeed the first time. Oh my god, the chakra consumption is so huge. Just sealing a piece of wood consumed the chakra of AC level ninjutsu. This is too outrageous. Even though Yu's chakra was surging at this time, he still couldn't believe that the chakra consumption of this sealing technique was so huge. It's like this to seal wood. If you want to seal the 9 tails, how much chakra will it consume? No wonder the Whirlpool clan has a huge amount of chakra. Without a huge amount of chakra, it can't support such a huge consumption of chakra. Although the sealing technique is powerful, Yu has only now truly experienced the consumption of chakra. Too scary. Finally, I know why not many people learn the sealing technique. In addition to being difficult to learn, I'm afraid the requirement for chakra is also extremely high. Yu thought about this in his heart. But there was no expression on his face. But Kakashi standing aside was stunned. It succeeded the first time. He couldn't believe it was true. He knew that Yu had a great talent for learning ninjutsu, but when he explained the principles of sealing techniques to Yu these days, he could see that Yu also found it difficult. Originally, he didn't have much hope. He thought that sealing techniques were indeed difficult ninjutsu. No wonder there were not many ninjas who specialized in sealing techniques in the ninja world. But Yu actually mastered it, and succeeded in performing the technique for the first time. You should know that the difficulty of the four symbols seal is very high. Even in Konoha, only a few people had mastered it before. That is, the first generation, the second generation, Uzumaki Mito, Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato. Even the third generation, which is called ninjutsu, the professor's people don't know how to do it. If he knew how to do it, Naruto wouldn't have gone berserk. Naruto went berserk once when he was a child, and that time he had to mobilize the entire Konoha sealing class to suppress Naruto. And at that time, Naruto was just berserk, and the tail of the tailed beast didn't appear. If the fourth generation knew the four symbols seal, it would be enough to directly reinforce the 8th diagram seal left by Minato Namikaze. Unfortunately, he doesn't know how to do it. Of course, the third generation and Danzo are very similar in one thing. Both of them have mastered a sealing technique that can only be used once. The third generation mastered the Shiki Fujin, and Danzo mastered the four symbols seal. Kakashi came over and interrupted Yu's thoughts. You succeeded, Yu. Yu came back to his senses, not knowing what he was thinking. It's considered a success, but this sealing technique consumes a lot of chakra. Kakashi was stunned for a moment. Oh, does it consume a lot of chakra? Yu nodded. I just sealed a piece of wood, but it has consumed the chakra of AC level ninjutsu. Kakashi smiled and said, it's normal for the Uzumaki clan's sealing technique to consume chakra. The most important thing is that you have mastered this sealing technique. And it's such a difficult sealing technique, it's a good start. Since you have learned the four symbols seal, there should be no problem with the 8 trigram seal. Originally, the 8 trigram seal was just a modification of the four symbols seal. Chapter 83. After that, Kakashi explained the principles of the 8 trigram seal to Yu, and this time it took much less time than when he explained the four symbols seal. And after mastering the four symbols seal, Yu felt that the 8 trigram seal was basically not difficult. It was not until the evening that Yu mastered the 8 trigram seal. Yu was not very satisfied with only learning 2 sealing techniques in one day. But Kakashi was already very surprised. For so many years, he has been practicing the four symbols seal and the 8 trigram seal, but for so many years, he has never mastered it. Unexpectedly, Yu mastered it in just one day. His learning ability has surpassed Kakashi's imagination. Yu's learning ability is no longer comparable to that of the ninjas in this world. But he did not realize this problem. He only knew that Uchiha Itachi also learned the fire style, Great Fireball technique by looking at his father. The difficulty of the four symbols seal and the 8 trigram seal is not comparable to the Great Fireball technique. The four symbols seal and the 8 diagram seal are both S-level ninjutsu, which are absolutely forbidden. The Great Fireball technique is only AC level ninjutsu. The difficulty of learning the two is very different, and the difficulty of regular ninjutsu and sealing ninjutsu is not at the same level. Kakashi can skillfully use Reikiri, who can use S-level ninjutsu, but can't learn the four symbols seal and the 8 diagram seal. At night, on the way back from the back mountain, Sasuke and Naruto blocked the 3 people. Kakashi, Yu and Sakura, who followed the 2 up the mountain, looked at Sasuke and Naruto who were blocking in front. Did you finish work so early today? Seeing that the 2 had no expression on their faces, Yu asked in confusion. Sasuke walked towards Yu and said, Yu, teach me to become stronger. Yu was stunned for a moment. Naruto also came over. Yu, I also want you to help me become stronger. Kakashi frowned. What's wrong with you two? Although it was expected before, neither of them mentioned it in the past few days. Kakashi thought that the 2 had no such idea. It turned out that they waited until now to bring it up. Yu was also helpless. He thought that the two would not bring up this request again. Sasuke and Naruto ignored Kakashi and looked at Yu with bright eyes. Before, under Yu's flattery, both of them thought that Kakashi could make them stronger. But after the battle that day, both of them knew that Yu's strength was not inferior to Kakashi, and even surpassed Kakashi. Kakashi held his forehead and was very helpless. It still appeared. Sakura on the side was a little embarrassed. Because Sakura told Sasuke and Naruto about Yu's performance that day. Under Sasuke and Naruto's questioning, Sakura told them all about Yu's performance that day. No matter how Yu denied it, they believed that Sakura would not lie to them. No matter how much Yu defended himself, it was an unchangeable fact that he killed the elite Jonin, Kuroki Raiga, and suppressed the runaway Naruto with one ninjutsu. Now the grave of Kuroki Raiga is still in the forest. The place where the two fought has become a ruin. Within a radius of hundreds of meters, all the trees and rocks were smashed into powder. The charred land can prove how fierce the battle was that day. What made Sasuke and Naruto even more unbelievable was that in such a fierce battle, Yu could actually kill Kuroki Raiga, an elite Jonin who was no less than Zabuza in their eyes. The most important thing was that Yu's ninjutsu could actually suppress Kuroki Raiga. According to Sakura's description, when Yu released his ninjutsu, he was as powerful as a living god. Yu looked at the serious eyes of Sasuke and Naruto and had a headache. I've already said that I don't know how to help you become stronger. I also learned from Kakashi-sensei. How is that possible? Kakashi-sensei can't be that strong. Naruto retorted. Kakashi was full of black lines. Although this is true, Naruto's direct statement still hurts his self-esteem. Sasuke frowned and looked at Yu. What do you want? As long as I have it, I can give it to you. Yu rolled his eyes at him. I want you to stop bothering me, okay? Although Yu didn't mind teaching the two his own ninjutsu, the key point is that his ninjutsu was taught by Kakashi. If you want to learn, just go to Kakashi. Moreover, the ninjutsu that Yu improved himself can only be used by him. After all, it's not because of how powerful those ninjutsu are, but because they are so powerful under the blessing of Yu's chakra. This is something Yu can't teach. Sasuke still thinks Yu is unwilling to teach them. Yu, I can worship you as my teacher. Sasuke said with gritted teeth. Everyone was stunned when these words were spoken. Especially Yu. Looking at Sasuke, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. I thought to myself, you want me to die, your teacher is right next to you. Have you ever thought about his feelings? Have you ever thought about my situation? As soon as Sasuke said this, both Yu and Kakashi were very embarrassed. Sakura and Naruto were shocked that Sasuke could be so humble. They are classmates of the same grade, and Yu is not older than them. Sasuke is actually willing to worship Yu as his master. The relationship between worshipping a master in the ninja world is different from the master-disciple relationship between ordinary Jonin and Genin. Becoming a master means that Sasuke voluntarily lowers his generation, and once a teacher, he is a father for life. Sasuke's behavior made Yu embarrassed and his face looked very ugly. He doesn't have the hobby of being an elder to his peers. And Kakashi is Sasuke's teacher. If he does this, wouldn't Kakashi be of the same generation as him? It's uncomfortable to think about it. Sasuke's behavior will only embarrass Yu and make him embarrassed. Seeing that Sasuke was about to kneel down, Yu instantly burst out his chakra. The terrifying chakra made Sasuke's knees unable to bend down. Sasuke was stunned. He looked up at Yu. Yu said coldly, if you do this, we can't even be classmates. Don't embarrass me. Sasuke was stunned. Then he understood what Yu meant. He clenched his fist and said, but I want to become stronger. I know you can make me stronger. I am willing to do anything to become stronger. As long as I can become stronger and kill that man, I am willing to sacrifice my life. Sasuke shouted at Yu. But Yu didn't mean to give in at all. You mean you don't have any confidence that you can surpass the man you mentioned by your own efforts? Yu said very seriously. Sasuke was silent. Really? Yu asked again. Sasuke still didn't speak. Yu deliberately mocked. Sasuke, I really overestimated you. I used to think you were a proud person and would definitely become my strongest opponent in the future. It seems that you are not qualified at all. Yu, who had always been peaceful in his dealings with others, suddenly said this, which made Sasuke very uncomfortable. Didn't he know that it was shameful and ugly to do so? He knew it, but he also knew that Uchiha Itachi was too strong, a strong man who could kill an entire clan. When Sasuke thought of that night, he was very desperate. Especially as the people around him became stronger and stronger, Uchiha Itachi's strength constantly hit his confidence. Because Yuyu's strength reminded him of Uchiha Itachi back then. The gap between him and Yuyu was so big that he could no longer see his back, so the gap between him and Uchiha Itachi would be so big. At this time, he could no longer remain calm. Chapter 84. Yuyu's words hit Sasuke's heart. He was very angry, but helpless. Yes, before, he thought he was also a genius, and he could catch up with Uchiha Itachi. One day, he would be strong enough to kill Uchiha Itachi, avenge the Uchiha clan, and avenge his parents. But the appearance of Yuyu hit his confidence, which was not much. Uchiha Itachi was too powerful in his heart. The more Yuyu showed his terrible strength, the more he felt the huge gap between himself and Uchiha Itachi. He even doubted whether he could really catch up with Uchiha Itachi and kill him by himself. Did he have the strength? Could it be that he would never be able to avenge his family and his parents in this life? After a long time, Sasuke lowered his head and said solemnly, I want to, but the stronger you are, the more I think of his strength. The gap between us is too big. I really have no hope of killing him. For the first time, Sasuke said such a dejected word. Even Yuyu did not expect it. His words just now were just to arouse Sasuke's competitive spirit. Unexpectedly, his hope was extinguished in an instant. Yuyu felt very embarrassed for a moment. Don't forget, you are that man's younger brother, you have the same father and mother, and your blood is the same. Why is your blood not as good as his? Maybe, you are stronger than him. What you need most is not to learn any powerful ninjutsu, but to develop your Sharingan. This is the most fundamental weapon of your Uchiha clan. It is the most stupid thing for you to learn ninjutsu from me. I learned ninjutsu because I don't have a Sharingan, because I have no other means of fighting besides ninjutsu. Can you be the same as me? If I had a Sharingan, I would definitely focus on developing the Sharingan. You and I am learning ninjutsu and missing the point. It is so stupid. Sasuke, I never thought you would be weaker than your brother. Remember, you and he are of the same blood. You can be stronger than him. And it is with the eyes of your Uchiha clan, with the famous Sharingan. Your Sharingan has been opened. If you continue to develop it, you will surpass him. You are from the Uchiha clan, not some unknown ninja. Don't get the direction of your efforts wrong. Just as the most important thing for Naruto is to master the power of the 9 tails, your eyes are your foundation. Ninjutsu is just an aid to these eyes. Yuyu patted Sasuke's shoulder and said seriously. Of course, the main thing for Yuyu to say these words is not to let Sasuke really worship him as a teacher. That would be too embarrassing. And with Sasuke's personality, even if Yuyu refuses, he must be willing to accept it. If Sasuke is unwilling to accept it. If Yuyu refuses unilaterally, Sasuke will keep pestering him. He doesn't want to get involved in these troubles. After listening to Yuyu's words, Sasuke raised his head, looked at Yuyu, and asked seriously, do I really have hope? Sasuke rarely said such unconfident words. Yuyu smiled and said, believe me, you will be much stronger than your brother, but you are too eager for quick success. Practice slowly. How can you become fat in one bite? Eyes also need to be developed slowly. You are only 12 years old now. Why are you so anxious? Remember, the peak of ninja's combat power is after the age of 20. Do you think you are weak now? Asked Kakashi. Teacher, you are now stronger than many Chunins. As long as you and Kakashi learn more about the development of Sharingan and stimulate the power of your Uchiha clan bloodline, let alone defeating your brother, it is not impossible to defeat Naruto. Don't forget that the reason why Sharingan makes the ninja world tremble is because Sharingan really has a powerful power that is so powerful that it makes people despair. Originally, Sasuke was hit and had no hope during this period of time. Hearing what Yu said, he regained his composure. His confidence was rekindled. But soon Sasuke found something wrong, looked at Yu and asked in confusion, but you are the same age as me, why are you so strong? You are now stronger than the Jonin, even the elite Jonin was killed by you. Yu hesitated for a moment, and quickly said, this is because I have reached the outbreak period, and you haven't yet. Let me give you an example. If Naruto suddenly mastered the power of the Nine Tails, his strength would instantly rise to the level of Hokage. I have accumulated it for many years before. You only see that I seem to be very strong now, but you don't see that I have been training hard in the past few years and have paid a lot of blood and sweat to have today's strength. And your explosive period is when your Sharingan opens the 3 Magatama Sharingan. At that time, I will look up to you. Kakashi teacher is so powerful with only one Sharingan. Think about it, you have a pair of Sharingans. If you open the 3 Magatama Sharingan, do you think you will be weaker than Kakashi teacher? Your brother seems to have only 3 Magatama Sharingan, right? By the way, how old was your brother when he left the village? Sasuke frowned and replied, 13 years old. Sasuke remembered it very clearly. That's it. Your brother left the village at the age of 13, which means that for so many years, he didn't even have a teacher to teach him, and he had to avoid Konoha's pursuit. Do you think he would have time to practice in his spare time? Maybe his current strength has degenerated to the point where it is not as good as when he left Konoha. And you, quote, you are surrounded by the peaceful and stable environment of Konoha, systematic education, and excellent teachers. We have many Jonin in Konoha, including Kakashi, who is proficient in ninjutsu and has great experience in developing the Sharingan, and many elite Jonin who are proficient in taijutsu and genjutsu. Those people are all classmates and friends of Kakashi. Quote, what is your relationship with Kakashi? Of course you can ask them for relevant ninjutsu, taijutsu and genjutsu. I don't believe that your brother has such good conditions to wander in the ninja world. The most important thing is that you have more time to practice, and you often perform tasks, so you can also transform the ninjutsu you practice into practical experience. That's why I think you will be stronger than your brother. Of course, these words were made up by Yu. Yu's purpose was just to prevent Sasuke from getting entangled with him. Of course, what Yu said was not without reason. So Sasuke couldn't refute it. And he believed it. Not only Sasuke, but even Naruto and Sakura were thinking about it. Yu secretly wiped his sweat. Kakashi looked at Yu with a confused face. I wondered what this kid's mouth was made of, how could he be so talkative? The most outrageous thing is that Kakashi knew very well, Yu said so much, with only one purpose, don't bother me, go find Kakashi, if Kakashi can't do it, go find the ninjas of Konoha. This is clearly shirking the trouble. But Kakashi really couldn't say anything. He couldn't refute what Yu said. After all, he is indeed Sasuke's guiding Jonin, and it is his responsibility to teach Sasuke. If Sasuke really asks Kakashi to introduce Gai, Asuma and Yuhi Kurenai to Sasuke, Kakashi really has no reason to refuse. Chapter 85. Sasuke was persuaded by Yu, and his originally impatient heart calmed down. Naruto on the side was also persuaded by what Yu said just now, that as long as he mastered the power of the Nine Tails, his strength would skyrocket. After Naruto and Sasuke stopped pestering Yu to learn ninjutsu, Yu secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He really didn't want to be pestered by these two people, it was very troublesome. Kakashi and Sakura, who didn't say much on the side, were stunned when they saw Yu. They didn't expect Yu to be able to persuade Naruto and Sasuke. Although they didn't spend much time together, Kakashi and Sakura knew that Naruto and Sasuke were two stubborn people. It was very difficult to persuade them. Yu actually did it. This mission was actually almost completed, and the time after that was always calm. Kaido didn't hire ninjas to cause trouble afterwards. However, just in case, Kakashi decided to wait until the bridge was completely repaired before leaving. It's just that during this period, in addition to going with Sakura to protect Dasna, when he stayed at Dasna's house, he would follow Kakashi to learn the sealing technique. Whether it was day or night, he was very busy. During the day, he either went to protect Dasna or practice the sealing technique, and at night he had to deal with Inari. Because Yu saved him last time, and Inari saw with his own eyes that Yu killed the ninja hired by Kaido. So Inari admired Yu very much, and kept pestering Yu to let Yu play with him. Inari's heart, Yu was a real hero. If he was not from Konoha, he would have become Yu's apprentice long ago. Although Yu didn't want to pay attention to him. But Yu didn't feel embarrassed to refuse. So at night, he would take some time to play with him. Tsunami was also very good to Yu, and often cooked dishes that Yu liked. In Dasna's house, Yu was respected as much as Kakashi. Even the Dasna family treated Yu better than Kakashi. The strength Yu showed that day was too strong. In their opinion, Yu was stronger than Kakashi. In the next few days, Yu learned the contract seal, the evil seal, the fire seal and other sealing techniques. He learned all the sealing techniques that Kakashi knew. And at this time, Yu's chakra amount also doubled compared to before. During this period, his chakra increase rate was indeed getting slower and slower. In more than 10 days, it only doubled compared to before. At the beginning, his chakra almost doubled every day. But Yu didn't care. Even if it was only doubled, his chakra amount was definitely at the level of Kage at this time, and it was a very high level among the Kage level. In addition, the chakra used by Yu was different from that of ordinary ninjas, and in fact, his chakra amount might have surpassed the Kage level. What Yu lacks at present is probably practical experience and physical skills. There is no rush for practical experience. Yu himself knows that practical experience takes a long time and a lot of practical combat to accumulate. As for physical skills, it takes a lot of time to practice. Yu does not require to practice to Kai's level. That level is the top in the ninja world. It is enough to not drag him down. Now Yu's chakra is definitely many times more than Naruto's, of course it can't be compared with the Nine Tails. However, there are not many ninjas in the ninja world who can compare chakra with the Nine Tails. It is estimated that only Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama can compare. Yu's chakra amount is far from these two. Not to mention that Naruto only has half of the Nine Tails in his body. But Yu's chakra amount is not even as good as half of the Nine Tails in Naruto's body. Not to mention Senju Hashirama, whose chakra amount is more than the entire Nine Tails. However, even if it is not as much as half a Nine Tails, it is still very outrageous. At this time, in the entire ninja world, except for the Jinchuriki and the tailed beasts, there are few people with more chakra than Yu. Of course, Yu does not know these. He does not know how much chakra other people in the ninja world have. But he knows that he has a lot of chakra now, at least much more than Kakashi. It's just that his strength has increased a lot, but Yu's mentality has not changed as he imagined before. Now he is still the same character as before. His mentality is calm and his personality has not changed at all. He still doesn't want to care about many things, he still finds many things troublesome, and he still doesn't want to use force for many things. He doesn't want to do it if he can avoid it. So when Naruto and Sasuke are entangled, and even when Inari pesters him and asks him to play with him, Yu just talks about it. If he can't say it, he can only deal with it. This is why Inari admires Yu so much. Yu is obviously very powerful, but he is willing to play with him. In fact, Yu is just helpless. At night, in a room with several people, Kakashi sat cross-legged in front of Yu. Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura also sat cross-legged beside them. Several people formed a circle. Kakashi, Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura all looked at Yu. Yu was a little speechless. Does it have to be now? I think we should go back to the village first. Kakashi reached out and patted Yu's shoulder. If we go back to the village, it will easily cause a big commotion. So let's do it now. After Kakashi finished speaking, Naruto also bowed to Yu seriously. Yu, please. Sasuke and Sakura looked at Yu with curiosity. Yu was a little helpless. But he was actually a little looking forward to it, wanting to see the results of his training these days. Let me give it a try. The reason why they did this was because after Yu had learned the sealing technique, Kakashi hoped that Yu would strengthen the sealing technique in Naruto's body, to prevent Naruto from going berserk again in the future. However, Kakashi obviously trusted Yu too much. He dared to let Yu use the sealing technique on Naruto not long after learning it. You know, if there is an accident and the Nine Tails breaks the seal, no one here can suppress it. But Naruto asked, and Yu also wanted to try it. Soon, Naruto sat cross-legged in front of Yu, revealing the sealing technique on his abdomen. Only then did Sakura and Sasuke see the sealing technique on Naruto's abdomen. Yu began to make seals with both hands. Because it was the first time to use it on a real person, Yu was also a little nervous. I'll go into the sealed space first to see the situation. Just as Yu was preparing the sealing technique, his consciousness also entered the space where the Nine Tails was sealed. In an instant, Yu entered Naruto's sealed space. The ticking sound brought Yu back to his senses. He had already entered Naruto's sealed space. It was a dark environment with water under his feet. A huge iron door in front of him made Yu raise his head. Yu frowned. Is this where the Nine Tails is sealed? This environment is really not very good. No wonder the Nine Tails is so irritable. The environment where the Nine Tails is sealed is really not very good, like an underground sewer. In other words, Yu forgot what it was like when the Nine Tails was sealed in Uzumaki Kushina and Uzumaki Mito. If he knew, he would know that the Nine Tails is treated well enough now. Chapter 86. When the Nine Tails was in the bodies of Uzumaki Mito and Uzumaki Kushina, it was nailed to the hot magma boulder. Now it is good enough to just be locked in a cage. No wonder the Nine Tails did not go crazy when it was in the bodies of Uzumaki Mito and Uzumaki Kushina. Not to mention how strong the sealing technique that sealed the Nine Tails is. The diamond seal of the two alone can suppress the Nine Tails to death. At that time, Uzumaki Kushina was almost dead, and the diamond seal released made the Nine Tails unable to move. If the Nine Tails had not been pulled out of her body and she was sure to die, the Nine Tails would have had no chance to come out of her body. In fact, the diamond seal is a sealing technique that Yu really wants to learn, but unfortunately this ninjutsu is bound to the bloodline of the Uzumaki clan. Kakashi doesn't know it either. Came to the space where the Nine Tails is sealed. Pushing open the giant iron door in front of him, the Nine Tails, who was originally lying in the cage, noticed that the iron door was opened. Raised his eyelids. A pair of blood-red pupils appeared in the dark cage. Kyuubi thought Naruto had come in. When Yu walked in slowly, Kyuubi frowned. It's not that kid. Kyuubi was very angry when he saw that it was not Naruto. He even stood up and roared at Yu. Even Yu was shocked by the terrifying power. The roar alone had terrifying power. If it were in the outside world, this roar alone would be enough to match the power of an A-level ninjutsu. And it was the power of a large-scale A-level ninjutsu. Yu saw Kyuubi for the first time, and finally had an initial understanding of Kyuubi's power. It was indeed very powerful. But Yu also knew that Kyuubi was now sealed tightly by the 8th diagram seal and could not come out at all. If it really broke the seal, Yu really couldn't beat it. As expected of a nine-tailed demon fox, it is as powerful as the legend says. Yu muttered to himself. Seeing that Yu was not frightened by it, Juwei was surprised. Juwei stared at Yu with his big eyes and said in a cold tone, "Little ghost, who are you and why are you here?" Yu was silent for a while before he raised his head and said, "You are the nine-tailed fox." Juwei looked gloomy and did not speak. Yu said to himself, "It is indeed very powerful, but you are so powerful that I can't let you out. If you let you out, no one can really seal you." Hearing Yu's words, Juwei was furious and roared. "Little ghost, you are looking for death." Another roar. The terrifying chakra pushed Yu away several steps. Just the residual power leaked by the nine-tailed fox has such a terrifying power. It is conceivable how terrible it would be if the nine-tailed fox came out. Yu has no confidence in sealing this thing again. It would be lucky if it didn't kill him. If the nine-tails breaks the seal, no one in Konoha can seal it at this time. Even the third Hokage can't do it. Even if he uses the Shikigami seal, he has to control the nine tails first. Who can do this? The reason why Minato Namikaze could use the Shikigami Fujin on the nine tails before was because Uzumaki Kushina first used the diamond seal to seal the nine tails. But now no one in Konoha can seal the nine tails. Not to mention that the Shikigami Fujin is a one-time sealing technique. The third Hokage would definitely not want to use it unless it was absolutely necessary. It is precisely because of this that Yu is under great pressure at this time. If he makes a mistake, even if he doesn't die when the nine tails breaks the seal, Naruto will not survive. If the tailed beast leaves the body of the Jinchuriki will not survive. Even as strong as Uzumaki Kushina back then, she only relied on the powerful vitality of the Uzumaki clan to hold on for a while. An ordinary Jinchuriki would die immediately if the tailed beast was extracted. The nine tails kept roaring at Yu, releasing chakra recklessly. The iron door that sealed it was also shaking, as if the nine tails would break the seal in the next second. But Yu knew that the seal was still relatively strong at this time, and the nine tails could not break the seal yet. However, if Naruto continued to use the power of the nine tails, the seal would become weaker and weaker. But it was impossible for Naruto not to use the nine tails chakra. When he was angry and lost his mind, he had to use the nine tails chakra even if he didn't want to. So the seal in Naruto's body would only become weaker and weaker. The nine tails roared for a long time, and the movement was very loud, but Yu was shocked at the beginning, and then there was no emotional change at all. After all, the nine tails was sealed, and the chakra it could leak out was limited. And the chakra it leaked out was obviously not as much as Yu's. Even though those chakras are much compared to ordinary Jonin, they are nothing to Yu at this moment. After a long while, Yu said calmly, "Okay, stop being so naughty. You should know that your actions will not hurt me." The nine-tailed fox, which was still roaring, stopped when it heard Yu's words. Its eyes were cold, and it said in a cold voice, "Boy, who are you and why did you come here?" Yu put his hands in his pockets and looked at the nine-tailed fox in front of him. "I am Naruto's friend. I came here today to see what the legendary nine-tailed fox looks like. Now that I have seen it, it is indeed very powerful. I really don't know how terrible the person who captured and sealed you was. You have been tempting Naruto to borrow your chakra, and you want to constantly attack the sealing technique left by the fourth Hokage. That won't work. If you come out now, no one in our Konoha can control you. I came in to reinforce the sealing technique left by the fourth Hokage." The nine-tailed fox almost laughed when he heard Yu's words. "Little ghost, you are quite good at bragging. Quote, you little brat, do you know what a sealing technique is? You want to strengthen the sealing technique left by the fourth Hokage. Who do you think you are?" Kyuubi doesn't believe that Yu knows the sealing technique. The sealing technique is extremely difficult. Ordinary sealing techniques are very difficult, not to mention the 8th diagram seal left by the 4th Hokage. That is the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan. How could the Nine Tails, who has lived for thousands of years, not know how powerful the Uzumaki clan's sealing technique is? It has been sealed in the body of 3 people from the Uzumaki clan for decades. No one knows how powerful the Uzumaki clan's sealing technique is better than it. Yu doesn't care about the Nine Tails' ridicule. It has always been like this. Believe it or not, but you should stay in Naruto's body honestly for the rest of your life and don't think about coming out. I'm going to do it now, don't bother me. Yu didn't want to waste time talking to Nine Tails. Hands quickly formed seals. In an instant, golden chakra burst out from Yu's body. Nine Tails, who had a mocking look on his face just now, was stunned when he saw the golden chakra on Yu's body. Why is this chakra so familiar? Kid, who are you? Nine Tails roared. But Yu ignored it, and Yu didn't strengthen the seal immediately. He had to understand the situation of Minato Namikaze's Bagua seal before he knew how to strengthen it. But Nine Tails was very nervous when he saw the chakra burst out from Yu. Because Yu's chakra reminded it of Hashirama Senju. And Yu was so young, but he actually had such a huge amount of chakra, although not as much as himself. But Nine Tails knew very well that it was definitely not the amount of chakra that Yu should have at his age. Obviously, Yu was not simple. Just his burst the chakra that came out has made the Nine Tails very nervous. Yu himself didn't know that his chakra had shocked the Nine Tails. It was not even sure that it could suppress Yu. Because Yu's chakra was not ordinary chakra, but fairy chakra. The Nine Tails knew how powerful this kind of chakra was. The chakra of Senju Hashirama was the same as Yu's. And it was not just pure fairy chakra, but also had a strong vitality, which was very similar to Senju Hashirama. The Nine Tails even felt that Yu was the descendant of Senju Hashirama. Chapter 87. After the rapid seal was completed, mysterious runes appeared under Yu's feet. These runes turned into black chains and flew towards the door lock that locked the Nine Tails. Buzz tilde. The moment Yu's chakra poured in, mysterious runes immediately appeared on the door lock. Yu, who was casting the spell, suddenly opened his eyes. He frowned. It's so complicated. The 8th diagram seal of the 4th Hokage is not that simple. But it just consumes a little more chakra. Yu increased the output of chakra. Boom boom. The chakra on Yu's body rushed into the seal lock crazily. Even the Nine Tails was shocked by the terrifying amount of chakra. What kind of monster is this kid? How can he have such a terrible amount of chakra at his age? As Yu continued to output chakra, the Nine Tails also felt that the originally loose seal became stronger and stronger. Stop. Bang tilde. After feeling the seal strengthen, the nine-tailed fox got angry and slapped the iron door with one claw. It caused a violent vibration, but it did not affect Yu's spell at all. I told you to stop, you bastard, do you want to lock me up in this place forever? Evil human, I'm going to kill you, kill you. Roar tilde. Bang, bang, bang. After realizing that Yu could really strengthen the seal, how could the nine-tailed fox let Yu finish it? It had been waiting for more than 10 years. It had discovered that as long as Naruto continued to accept its chakra, the seal would become weaker and weaker. It would not take long for it to get out of this dark sealed space. But the appearance of Yu interrupted this possibility. Let it stay in Naruto's body forever, what a joke. Roar. Seeing that Yu did not stop and even ignored it, the nine-tailed fox got angry and began to condense chakra. Soon a dark red-tailed beast ball appeared in its mouth. Go to hell, brat. Feeling the terrifying power of the tailed beast ball in the nine-tail's mouth, Yu frowned. But Yu did not stop. He did not know if the nine-tails could hurt him in this place. At this time, in the outside world, the tailed beast coat began to spread out of Naruto's body. The color of the tailed beast coat became darker and darker. Naruto's consciousness became weaker and weaker. Kakashi was shocked. He wanted to stop Naruto, but the moment his hand touched the tailed beast coat, he was burned. Kakashi was stunned. Is this the Nine Tails chakra? It is so corrosive. Sasuke and Sakura on the side were also stunned. Such a terrible power is sealed in Naruto's body. Yu Yu's consciousness was still in Naruto's sealed space, so his body did not move at this time. Kakashi wanted to interrupt Yu Yu, but he was worried that interrupting Yu Yu would threaten his safety. There was no way. Kakashi could only say to Sasuke and Sakura, "Sasuke, Sakura, go take Mr. Dasna and the others away from here. If Naruto goes berserk, he will hurt them." Kakashi regretted it a little. Looking at Yu Yu, who was expressionless at this time, he was very worried about Yu Yu's safety, but he was helpless at this time and had no way out. Although Sasuke and Sakura were very worried about Yu Yu and Naruto, they could only listen to Kakashi and move the Dasna family away. Fortunately, the Dasna family lived far away from the town, otherwise if Naruto went berserk, it would definitely cause a lot of casualties. After Sasuke and Sakura left, Kakashi stood beside Yu Yu, looking at him and Naruto nervously. Yu Yu had no expression. Naruto's face was in pain. The color of the tailed beast coat on his body was getting darker and darker. Even if he didn't touch him directly, Kakashi felt the terrifying deterrent power of the Nine Tails chakra, which made his soul tremble. Moreover, the furnishings in the room were constantly impacted by the Nine Tails chakra, and cracks had appeared. Naruto was surrounded by blood-red chakra, which made Kakashi feel a huge pressure. And Yu Yu in Naruto's body was also under great pressure at this time. The tailed beast jade in the Nine Tails' mouth was ready to go, and he didn't know whether the Nine Tails' tailed beast jade would endanger his life if it hit him in this space. Yu Yu didn't stop, and continued to output chakra. The mysterious rune under his feet was still expanding, and the chain formed by the rune rushed into the seal lock frantically. The chakra consumed by the sealing technique is very huge. Fortunately, Yu Yu's chakra is even larger, otherwise it can't support the current consumption at all. The Nine Tails saw that Yu Yu didn't stop under its threat. Really angry. Go to hell, kid. Boom. The nine-tailed fox put the tail in its mouth. The beast jade blasted out. Boom, boom, boom. The tailed beast jade instantly blasted on the iron door that sealed it. The terrifying power illuminated the entire space. The terrifying chakra instantly blasted on Yu Yu's body. Yu Yu did not expect that even in this space, the chakra of the Nine Tails could actually hurt him. Puff tilde. Under the terrifying chakra bombardment, Yu Yu did not take precautions in advance, so most of the chakra of the tailed beast jade hit his body. Yu Yu was blown away by the power of the tailed beast jade and hit the wall heavily. And Yu Yu outside also vomited blood, and his blood sprayed on Naruto who was sitting in front of him. But Naruto's tailed beast coat blocked it, and the blood was corroded as soon as it touched Naruto's tailed beast coat. Kakashi, who was standing next to Yu Yu, was nervous and wanted to interrupt Yu Yu's spell. Yu Yu's face was pale at this time. After so many years in this world, this was the first time Yu Yu vomited blood and the first time he was injured so badly. Just when Kakashi was about to wake Yu Yu up, Yu Yu finally spoke. Although it was painful, Yu Yu still said coldly, "Teacher Kakashi, I'm fine, don't be nervous." Kakashi stopped and Yu Yu's consciousness finally came back. Forget it, it's too dangerous. If something happens to you, how can I explain it to Tongi? Kakashi looked solemn. He actually wanted to say that he didn't want Yu Yu to take risks. After seeing Yu Yu vomiting blood, he couldn't bear it anymore. At this moment, he realized that Yu Yu's safety was more important. The nine-tailed fox in Naruto's body was not even 1/10,000th of Yu Yu's. But Yu Yu shook his head and said solemnly, "I'm fine. I was just testing whether the nine-tailed fox in my body could hurt me. I was not prepared just now and let it succeed. I won't make this mistake again. Teacher Kakashi, you go out first, stay away from me, I might hurt you next." Kakashi frowned. How can I let you face this danger alone? Teacher Kakashi, listen to me, I will take care of the things later. You staying here will make it difficult for me to operate. This is the first time that Yu spoke to Kakashi in such a serious tone. Kakashi looked at Yu's serious expression. He knew that staying here would distract Yu. Even if he was worried about Yu, it was impossible for Yu to stop at this time. Kakashi had no choice but to nod his head, glanced at Yu and Naruto, and disappeared in the room. Chapter 88. After persuading Kakashi to leave, Yu sank his consciousness into Naruto's sealed space again. In the sealed space, Yu watched the nine-tailed fox releasing the tailed beast ball to attack the sealed iron door. The iron door began to shake. Yu stood up from the ground, dragging his body that was almost broken by the fall, and slowly walked towards the nine-tailed fox. Nine-tailed fox, you don't think you can get out, do you? No matter how much you do, it's just in vain. Nine-tailed fox looked at Yu with a serious expression. Little ghost, you are really not simple. You didn't die. Yu stood up straight, raised his head and smiled. Yeah, I didn't expect that I could still get hurt in this space. This is the first time I've been hurt so badly in so many years. Hee, but I will still strengthen the seal. Don't think about getting out in your life. As he said, Yu formed a seal again and planned to cast the spell again. Soon, mysterious runes appeared under Yu's feet. The nine-tailed fox looked at Yu, very angry, but more solemn. Yu himself did not notice it, but it had noticed it just now. The moment its tailed beast ball hit Yu, the chakra in his body instantly formed a golden shield to protect him inside. Otherwise, Yu would not have just vomited blood. Even if he did not die, he would have become demented. And that power, the nine-tailed fox had never seen before. It was very similar to the Senjutsu chakra, but it was stronger than the Senjutsu chakra. Because even if it was the Senjutsu chakra, it would not be able to resist the tailed beast ball it just released. Yu gave it a threat from the soul. What is the power in this kid's body? Why does it feel more threatening to me than that old man Ludao? Seeing that Yu was still reinforcing the seal, the nine-tailed fox was angry, but did not launch another attack. Just keep provoking Yu with words, kid, what you do is in vain. As long as Naruto can't help using my chakra, the seal will become weaker and weaker. You can't always stay by Naruto's side, right? Yu ignored the nine tails. Bang, kid, are you deaf? Yu raised his head at this time and said lightly, I don't need to be by his side all the time, and this seal can't always seal you, but when this seal is broken, it must be after Naruto completely tames you and completely controls your power. Ha ha ha, are you crazy? Can Naruto tame me? What a joke. If you are my Jinchuriki, then I believe that you have the ability to control my power, because you are better than the two Jinchuriki before me. The power will be stronger. I also believe in your future potential. But, Naruto. This kid doesn't even have the pure blood of the Whirlpool clan, and he doesn't even know the Whirlpool clan's sealing technique. How can he control my power? Is it because he can't control his emotions every time and asks me to borrow chakra? Yu sneered, so you are locked up here and you are stupid. You can't see Naruto's potential. You are the joke. Kyuubi slapped the iron door with one claw. The iron door had loosened just now. As Yu continued to repair it, the attack of the nine-tailed fox could not shake the iron door at all. However, Yu continued to output chakra to repair it. The nine-tailed fox looked surprised. Little kid, you actually know the Whirlpool clan's sealing technique. Who taught you? Yu ignored it. But the nine-tailed fox didn't care. Just now it wanted to destroy Yu's consciousness. After seeing the hidden power in Yu's body, the nine-tailed fox gave up. That power was too strong. Although Yu's chakra was not as much as its, if it was outside, Yu would probably not be its opponent. But in this sealed space, with the protection of that power, Yu's consciousness could not be erased at all. The nine-tailed fox just wanted to know more about Yu. It had already regarded Yu as the biggest obstacle to escape from Naruto's body. Boy, don't waste your energy. I can see that Naruto will only borrow more and more of my power in the future, and the borrowed chakra will only increase. The seal you reinforced will not last long. Naruto can't resist the temptation of my power. Yu frowned. That's true, but Yu knew very well that it would not take a few years for Naruto to control the nine-tailed fox. It would be enough to hold on until then. Seeing Yu's expression change, Jue smiled and said, "What do you think? Give up. What you did is just in vain." Yu raised his head and smiled at Jue. "If what I did was in vain, why were you so excited just now? Do you know that what I did upset your plan? The reason why you keep giving Naruto chakra, you are tempting him to use your power so that he can't get rid of your power. I believe that Naruto will not be able to not use your power in the future, but I will keep reinforcing the seal until he completely controls your power. I bet he can completely control your power within a few years. I bet you will never be able to get rid of his control in the future." It's called a bet, but Yu is just talking about the future. In the future, even the nine-tailed fox will not be willing to leave Naruto's body. Although Yu doesn't remember the plot of Naruto very clearly, he still has some memories of the Fourth Ninja World War. If Naruto hadn't controlled the power of the nine-tailed fox in the Fourth Ninja World War, it would have been really difficult to fight. But the nine-tailed fox didn't believe it. "Ha ha ha, boy, do you know? When you say these words, I think it's particularly ridiculous. Even Uzumaki Mito and Uzumaki Kushina, who have the pure blood of the Uzumaki clan and are proficient in the Uzumaki clan's sealing technique, dare not say that they can completely control my power. You actually said that Naruto, a kid who only has half of the Uzumaki clan bloodline and doesn't even know the sealing technique, can completely control my power. If he can, would you still be here? Do you still need to reinforce his seal?" Kyuubi looked at Yu sarcastically. But Yu looked at Kyuubi and said calmly, "Because I bet my future that I can help him control your power." For a moment, the whole space was quiet. The nine-tailed fox frowned and looked at Yu. Yu's words just now made it feel ridiculous. But Yu's words made it unable to refute. It didn't believe that Naruto could control it in the future, but it believed that Yu could suppress it in the future. Just like Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara back then. The nine-tailed fox didn't know that this was the first time that Yu said such words so confidently. He had never been very confident about his future before. But at this moment, he was very calm in his heart, but he said something that seemed very arrogant. He shouldn't have said such words. But at this moment, he said it, and he was very calm, without any emotion, as if he was just saying a fact. The whole space was quiet for a long time. The nine-tailed fox didn't refute. Looking at Yu, it seemed to see Senju Hashirama who suppressed it back then. And in its eyes, Yu just told the truth. Although this was the truth it was most reluctant to hear. Chapter 89. The space was quiet for a long time, and the anger of the nine-tailed fox was suppressed by it. For the first time, it was not as irritable as before. It didn't say anything and lay in the cage with a huge fox head on its two paws. It seemed to have given up resistance. Yes, it could look down on Naruto, and it could not believe that Naruto would definitely find a chance to break the seal in the future. But so what? As long as there is this kid in front of it, what's the point of breaking the seal? If it is caught and sealed again like before, it will really lose face. The nine-tailed fox sighed. "Old Six Paths, after you left, this ninja world has become very uncomfortable for me. It's not easy to meet the weakest generation of Jinchuriki, but I didn't expect this kid to appear. Are you, old man, cursing me in the underworld?" The nine-tailed fox sighed. It has given up resistance. Originally, it thought that Naruto was the weakest of the three generations of Jinchuriki, and it could take advantage of Naruto's continuous use of its chakra to escape the seal. But the appearance of Yu let it know that even if it broke the seal, it would be useless, and Yu had the ability to catch it and reseal it. Now Yu does not have this ability, and the current Yu is not its opponent. But the Ninetail is very sensitive to Yu's strength. It knows very well that it will not take long for Yu's strength to grow enough to suppress it, and may even reach the level of Senju Hashirama in the past. The Ninetail is very unhappy when he thinks of the memory of being suppressed by Senju Hashirama. But there is no way, it sees the shadow of Senju Hashirama in Yu, and it may even have greater potential than Senju Hashirama. Because it estimates that Senju Hashirama at that time was definitely not as strong as Yu at his age. Only Yu himself cannot recognize his current strength. The Ninetail is very sensitive to strength. In the Ninetail's perception, Yu's current strength is definitely at the level of Hokage. Whether it surpasses the level of Hokage, the nine-tailed fox has not seen Yu fight, so it is not clear. But just from the mysterious power in Yu's body, the nine-tailed fox can see how much potential Yu will have in the future. Yu was a little surprised. He murmured to himself, "This fox didn't resist anymore, it's a bit weird." Yu thought that the nine-tailed fox was holding back a big move. He didn't expect that the nine-tailed fox just gave up resistance. The existence of Yu made the nine-tailed fox have no desire to break the seal. Anyway, after going out, it will be caught by Yu and resealed, so why did it bother to run out? The nine-tailed fox didn't know that Yu was very wary of him at this time, and he was staring at him while reinforcing the seal. It lasted for about an hour, and Yu finally reinforced the seal in Naruto's body. The nine-tailed fox also sensed it. The 8th diagram's seal released by Yu was much stronger than that of Minato Namikaze because of Yu's chakra. The nine-tailed fox could sense it clearly. This made the nine-tailed fox even more suspicious of Yu. There was a very powerful force hidden in Yu's body. Because it found that after Yu reinforced the seal of Minato Namikaze, the seal was many times stronger than the original one. Before, it could corrode the seal left by Minato Namikaze by constantly leaking chakra, but now it found that its chakra could not corrode the new seal left by Yu. That's right, Yu was worried that just reinforcing Minato Namikaze's seal was not reliable, so he added another Bagua seal. Among them, the Bagua seal of Minato Namikaze reinforced by Yu could still be corroded, but it was much stronger than before. As long as it continued to leak chakra to corrode, it could still be corroded. But the Bagua seal added by Yu, its chakra could not corrode anyway. In other words, it could not break the Bagua seal left by Yu at all. At least it could not break it with its own power. Unless Yu opens it himself, or Naruto opens it himself. Kyuubi frowned. A pair of fox eyes stared at Yu. "Boy, you actually added another seal, aren't you afraid that your chakra will be sucked dry?" At this time, Yu's face was a little pale. "You're right, my chakra was almost sucked dry, and the sealing technique really consumes a lot of chakra. It seems that my chakra is still too little." Kyuubi's mouth twitched slightly. Looking at Yu's serious look, it almost cursed. Yu actually risked running out of chakra and added another sealing technique to it, and this sealing technique was obviously also a Bagua seal, but it was more than 10 times stronger than the one left by Minato Namikaze. With its ability, it is impossible to break the seal. The Bagua seal left by Yu is stronger than Minato Namikaze, and the chakra naturally consumed it is also several times his. Yu's chakra is much higher than Minato Namikaze's. Although Minato Namikaze also has a lot of chakra, it can't be compared with Yu. Not to mention that Yu's chakra is different from ordinary chakra. But Yu did so much to seal it well, so it naturally wouldn't feel happy. But soon, what shocked Jue was that in just 10 minutes, Yu's chakra was fully restored. It was just 10 minutes. Jue was stunned. Your chakra has recovered." Yu's complexion also recovered, and he stood up with a relaxed look. "It's really uncomfortable to run out of chakra. Okay, I should go too. See you again if there is a chance, Jue." After saying that, Yu turned around and prepared to leave here. Wait a minute. Ju-wei hurriedly called Yu. Yu frowned, but he did not leave. He turned around and looked at Ju-wei. Anything else? Ju-wei held it in for a long time before asking, who is Naruto to you? Why would you do this for him? Yu was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, I just do what I think is right. Naruto is my friend, and he is a very important person in Konoha. There must be no mistakes. All I did was to hope that he could control your power in the future. I also believe that he can do it, but before that, I don't want you to cause him trouble. After all, if you break the seal, I will be in trouble. I am not your opponent now. If you go out at this time, I guess no one in Konoha can seal you again. Yu said calmly. If someone else said it, Ju-wei would definitely blast him with a few tailed beast balls. But the person who said this was Yu, and he just didn't have a temper. The people who are qualified to say those words of Yu, in the ninja world, the Nine Tails only recognize the Six Paths Sage brothers, Indra and Asura, as well as Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. It does not even recognize Uzumaki Mito and Uzumaki Kushina, the two people who have sealed it for the longest time. But when Yu said this, the Nine Tails did not doubt that Yu could do it. It was just curious why Yu could do this. It remembered very clearly that Naruto and Yu did not have such a good relationship. Before, Naruto even regarded Yu as an opponent. Although it did not know who Yu was before, nor what he looked like, it knew with a little speculation that the person Naruto was talking about was Yu. Chapter 90. Ju-wei looked at Yu and said coldly, you have done so much for Naruto, but you don't know that guy regards you as a rival, and your image is not very good in his heart. Ju-wei's words were not to sow discord, but he was just curious why Naruto was not so good to Yu, why Yu did this. Yu knew what Ju-wei said very well, but he didn't care. I know, children will always be jealous, not to mention that guy's personality is like this. I know that he regards me as an opponent, but I believe that when I am in danger, he will save me regardless of the danger. It's good to regard me as an opponent, at least it can motivate me to keep getting stronger, and it can also give him a goal to catch up. As long as I keep getting stronger, he needs to keep improving his strength, which is a good thing for both of us. Yu didn't care about Naruto's thoughts. Naruto at this time was originally a childish mind, and he was only 12 years old now, and he was indeed a child. And Yu knew very well that Naruto would not be like this when he grows up. Not to mention that Yu and Naruto were not originally in the same team. He didn't really care about Naruto. What he said to Kyuubi just now was also just to fool Kyuubi. He knew very well what Naruto would be like in the future, and knew that Naruto would not really regard him as an enemy. The most important thing is, even if Naruto really regarded him as an enemy, so what? Yu is now absolutely confident that his future will definitely not be inferior to Naruto, and he may even be stronger than him. Why should he care about these trivial matters? Of course, it may be that he often fooled Sasuke and Naruto before, and now facing Kyuubi, Yu just made up things as soon as he opened his mouth. As for whether it is true or not, or how true it is, he doesn't care. Anyway, he will forget it after a while. But Kyuubi believed it, because Yu said it very seriously, and there was no change in his emotions, and it could not feel any malice from Yu. It means that what Yu said is true. It was very surprised, boy, you are also a little brat, right? Why do you exclude yourself from the children? Kyuubi was speechless. Yu said as if Naruto was a child and he was not. Yu said lightly, I am indeed young, but that doesn't mean I am a child. Kyuubi thought Yu was a tsundere and said that. In fact, what Yu said was not wrong. His soul was not a child. Kyuubi sneered, although you are very powerful, you are just a child after all. You have the same thinking as a child. Yu didn't want to pay attention to Kyuubi. He turned around and prepared to leave. He stopped after just a few steps. With his back to the Nine Tails, he said, actually, I suggest you accept Naruto. Do you want to be locked up in the body of the Jinchuriki with hatred for your whole life? If you accept Naruto, you can at least be a little free. And Naruto has great potential, what do you think? The Ninetales snorted coldly, don't even think about it. Dream on about me succumbing to that brat. Yu shook his head, turned around and looked at the Ninetales. I'm curious, why do you have such a big grudge? You should also know that as long as the Jinchuriki system is not abolished, you-tailed beasts can only stay in the Jinchuriki. Is it the wife of the first generation of Naruto, or the wife of the 4 generations of Naruto, or the current Naruto? Even if you do not accept Naruto, there will be other people in the future. You can get limited freedom, you don't have to stay in this dark cell all day. And maybe you can get Naruto's friends. Roar tilde, roar, this is the attitude of Ninetales. Yu shook his head and shook his head. This is the only chance you can get freedom. Huh, stinky ghost, let me succumb to that little ghost. Is he 1,000 hands? 6 paths sage. Kyuubi looked at Yu's confused face and smiled, don't you know the 6 paths sage? Of course I know, according to legend, he is the ancestor of ninjas. The legend of the 6 paths sage is indeed well known in the ninja world, but because it has been so long, people only listen to the 6 paths sage as a myth. Many ninjas don't believe in the existence of the 6 paths sage. And Yu's answer is the same as what they taught in the ninja school. He naturally knew who the 6 paths sage was, but he couldn't reveal it in front of the Ninetales. And after so many years, Yu has almost forgotten many stories about the 6 paths sage. He only knows that the 6 paths sage gave Naruto and Sasuke the power of the 6 paths. He is the son of Kagaya Otsutsuki and also sealed Kagaya Otsutsuki. Yu's reaction is not completely fake. The Ninetales smiled and said, he is indeed the ancestor of ninjas, but people only spread his legends, but don't know how powerful he is. Speaking of the 6 paths sage, the Ninetales' thoughts went back thousands of years ago. Its memory is actually a little fuzzy. Seeing the Ninetales fall into memories, Yu turned around and was about to leave. Kyuubi was speechless. Why are you so impatient? Don't you want to listen to me? Yu was indeed impatient, because he could probably guess what Kyuubi was talking about. It was just that he couldn't remember the details, but that didn't matter. Yu didn't want to remember it clearly. As long as he had the strength, even if he couldn't be the savior in the 4th Ninja World War, he would definitely have no problem saving his life. Yu still had this confidence. Naturally, he had no interest in the story of the 6 paths sage. But for some reason, Kyuubi felt that Yu was different from others. In the past, whether it was Indra or Ashura, or Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, or Uzumaki Mito and Uzumaki Kushina, they didn't communicate with it normally. They all treated it as a natural disaster monster. Although Yu had strengthened the seal before, which made it want to kill Yu, after communicating with Yu for so long, it could feel that Yu, like the 6 paths sage, really treated it as a person of the same position. This is why the 9-tailed fox has never had a good impression of humans for so many years. Because almost everyone, including strong men like Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, only treats it as a weapon and a monster. But Yu really treats it as an equal. And Yu's strength and character are also recognized by it. Of course, the 9-tailed fox will definitely not admit it. The 9-tailed fox is not wrong about this. There is not much difference between intelligent creatures in Yu's eyes. Whether it is humans, tailed beasts, or intelligent summoning beasts, they are all the same to Yu, and they will communicate with them on an equal footing. This is actually very normal, just like monsters and unintelligent animals are definitely not the same species. At least that's what Yu thinks. Yu turned around impatiently and looked at Jue. Then hurry up and speak. I hate people who hesitate the most. Jue glared at Yu. If you were my Jinchuriki, I would have to fight with you from childhood to adulthood. You are too impatient. Can't you listen to others finish their words? Of course, Jue didn't know that it had never said such words to anyone other than the Six Paths Sage. Don't think that this sentence seems to complain about Yu. In fact, it has recognized Yu. Even if people with a little brain think about this sentence carefully, Jue subconsciously wants Yu to be its Jinchuriki. Of course, although Yu has a little brain, he won't think about these things. There is no need. He will become the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails if he is crazy. From the source of his strength, the Nine Tails has no benefit to him. In fact, if Yu wants to become the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, as long as he is strong enough in the future, he can completely seal the Nine Tails in Minato Namikaze's body in his body. Anyway, Minato Namikaze is dead, so no one will suffer any loss if the Yin Nine Tails is sealed in his body. Of course, Yu would not do that, and he has never thought about it. Chapter 91. Yu ignored what Jue said and looked at Jue calmly. Jue was afraid that Yu would leave directly. It didn't know that it treated Yu completely differently from others. Maybe it was because Yu was the only one who was willing to communicate with it on an equal footing in thousands of years. The Six Paths Sage was a figure thousands of years ago. He was the one who created the ninja sect, which is the predecessor of ninjas. Yu nodded. This is no different from the legend of the ninja world. Seeing that Yu was a little impatient, Jue continued. The Six Paths Sage had two sons, named Indra and Asura. Indra is the elder brother and Asura is the younger brother. They inherited the eyes and body of the Six Paths Sage respectively. Yu looked at Jue and asked, "What does this have to do with the Six Paths Sage?" "Don't be so anxious. Let me talk slowly," Jue complained. It was really convinced. It took so long to find someone it was willing to communicate with, but this guy was still so impatient. Yu did not say anything else, and motioned Jue to continue. Jue rolled his eyes at Yu, and then continued, "Do you know what powers the Six Paths Sage has?" The Six Paths Sage. Legend has it that he has the power to create the world and the power to destroy the world. Yu replied. Jue thought about it and nodded. Yes, the Six Paths Sage does have this power. This surprised Yu a little, partly because he was pretending, and partly because he thought that only Kagaya Otsutsuki had such power. Jue saw Yu's reaction and smiled. "Why, you don't believe it?" "I don't really believe it. It sounds like a myth," Yu said bluntly. Jue smiled. "Indeed, ninjas nowadays should not believe the story of the Six Paths Sage. But I just want to say that the power of the Six Paths Sage will not be weaker than the legend, but will only be stronger." "Oh," Yu said puzzledly. Jue seemed to have rarely seen someone willing to communicate with it, so he wanted to tell Yu about what happened that year. You know, even after the Nine Tails recognized Naruto, it still didn't tell him what happened back then. But for Yu gave it the same feeling as the Six Paths Sage gave it back then. The Nine Tails nodded. "Yes, very powerful. Do you know how many tailed beasts there are in the ninja world?" Yu nodded. "I've seen the information about this, 9. The Nine Tails was a little surprised, and looked at Yu. "You know much more than I thought. Many ninjas don't even seem to know how many tailed beasts there are in the ninja world." Yu didn't say anything. He also felt it was outrageous. Naruto and the others were fine, and even Kakashi's understanding of the tailed beasts was extremely limited, and there were records in the library of Konoha. A lot of basic knowledge can be found by just looking it up. But Kakashi didn't seem to know. In recent years, because he didn't want to stand out too much, Yu just tried his best in training, and he was fine as long as he passed, and he didn't strive for perfection. Naturally, learning theoretical knowledge became his usual pastime. This good habit also allows Yu to get high scores in every theoretical exam. In fact, he can get full marks, but he deliberately controls it every time, resulting in high scores, but not the highest one. In the ninja school, Sakura always gets full marks in every theoretical knowledge test, which is why she can study in the ninja school as a civilian. Although Sasuke is always the first in the class, that is the first in comprehensive scores. In terms of theoretical knowledge exams alone, he is not as good as Sakura. In other words, except for EU, no one in the class can compare with Sakura in theoretical knowledge. And EU deliberately controls the score every time, so Sakura always gets the first place in theoretical exams. In the Konoha Public Library, there are many materials about the ninja world. There are also materials about the tailed beasts. Even if the memories of the previous life are not counted, Kakashi's understanding of the tailed beasts at this time is actually not as good as EU. EU was very speechless, and even EU suspected that Kakashi graduated from the ninja school too early, only practicing combat skills, and forgetting to practice theoretical knowledge. Many ninjas in the ninja world are like Kakashi, and they don't have a detailed grasp of theoretical knowledge. But it's not surprising, after all, ninjas are still mainly based on combat skills. Except for some civilian ninjas, combat ninjas don't have a deep grasp of theoretical knowledge, and they only need to master the basics. There is no need to go too deep, and there is no need. The Nine Tails has been sealed for decades, and it will learn about these from time to time in the bodies of Uzumaki Kushina, Uzumaki Mito, and Naruto. After knowing that Yu has a deeper understanding, the Nine Tails continued. In fact, the nine-tailed beasts in the world were separated from one-tailed beast at the beginning. Yu was stunned for a moment. Huh? What do you mean? Kyuubi looked at Yu and said seriously, it's what you think. In other words, it was the Six Paths Sage who separated one-tailed beast into nine-tailed beasts. Kyuubi smiled. You are very smart. Yes, we were separated from a tailed beast named Ten Tails, and the Six Paths Sage was the Jinchuriki of the 10 tails back then. The Six Paths Sage is the Jinchuriki of the tailed beast. Then how powerful must that tailed beast be? Yu sighed. Kyuubi smiled. It is very powerful. The 10 tails has the power to destroy the world, and a large part of the Six Paths Sage's power comes from the 10 tails. Before the Six Paths Sage passed away, he was afraid that the 10 tails would bring disaster to the world, so he divided the 10 tails chakra into 9 parts, which are the 9-tailed beasts in the ninja world today. Yu was somewhat shocked. This was a real feeling, because he could not remember this memory clearly. Now that he heard it, he was still somewhat shocked. After a long time, Yu looked up at Juwei. According to what you said, the 10 tails is very powerful, so is it possible for it to appear in the world again? Juwei sighed. Well, in theory, it is possible. Juwei looked at Yu and smiled. Why, are you scared? Yu thought for a while and said, it's not that I'm scared. After all, I have no idea how powerful the 10 tails is. I'm just curious about how it will be resurrected. Juwei was a little surprised. You're not scared. Yu smiled. I want to be scared, but I really can't imagine how terrifying the power to destroy the world is. Is it the same as you, or countless times stronger? Juwei was stunned for a moment, then laughed. Ha ha ha, kid, you are very interesting, you actually think so. But soon, the 9 tails regained his seriousness and said solemnly, you don't know that the power of the 10 tails is countless times greater than mine. It can really destroy the world. The chakra I condensed with all my strength can only destroy tens of kilometers at most, but the 10 tails can destroy thousands of kilometers with just one tailed beast ball. Yu looked like you were kidding me, thousands of kilometers. This reaction was real. Yu only knew that the Fourth Ninja World War ended with a fight between gods, but he didn't know that a tailed beast ball could destroy thousands of kilometers. After all, no one would think about it in detail, just take a rough look. If it was thousands of kilometers, almost one tailed beast ball could destroy a big country. This power was beyond Yu's imagination. Chapter 92. Kyuubi nodded. Yes, it is that powerful. This is also a power that can destroy the world. Yu was silent for a long time, and agreed, indeed, if it is true, it is normal for the 10 tails to have the power to destroy the world, but is it true? One-tailed beast ball destroys everything within thousands of kilometers. This is too fantastic. Kyuubi sighed. It is true. The 10 tails is so powerful, how did the 6 paths sage seal it in his body? Kyubi thought for a while and said, the 10 tails was originally sealed in the 6 paths sage. The mother's big tube Muhuiyi's body. Big tube Muhuiyi. Nine-tailed nodded, yes, Datong Muhuiyi, she is a godlike person, and she has the power that is enough to suppress 10 tails. Datong Muhuiyi is the ancestor of chakra. It was she spread chakra throughout the ninja realm. Although Yu knew some, it was quite shocking to listen to Juwei. Legend has it that the big tube is from the sky. It is said that she is the god of gods in the gods. However, because Kagaya Otsutsuki was confused by the power, she planned to take back the chakra in the world, which caused many people to die. In order to stop Kagaya Otsutsuki, the 6 paths sage and his brother sealed their mother on the moon. Kyubi continued. And Yu was surprised, is the 6 paths sage so strong? Kyubi said, the 6 paths sage and his brother inherited the power of their mother, and finally used that power to seal Kagaya Otsutsuki. After sealing Kagaya Otsutsuki, the 6 paths sage extracted the 10 tails from her body and sealed it in his own body, becoming the second Jinchuriki of the 10 tails. Yu frowned. Kyubi said, how about it, do you have some idea of the 6 paths sage's power now? Yu nodded, if what you said is true, then the 6 paths sage is really as legendary, with the power to destroy the world. But is this true? Yu looked at the 9 tails with suspicion. Nine-tail laughed angrily, do I have to lie to you? Yu thought about it and said, there is really no need, but this information is beyond my imagination, and I can't digest it for a while. Nine-tail lay on the ground and said lightly, so I only recognize strong people like the 6 paths sage, and I will never recognize this brat Naruto. He is not worthy of me to succumb to him. Yu had no plan to go out for the time being, and sat cross-legged opposite Nine-tail, and asked, you seem to know a lot of things in the past. In addition to the 6 paths sage, you should also know about many strong people, right? Nine-tail glanced at Yu, and it knew what Yu wanted to do. But Kyubi closed his eyes proudly, I've told you enough, how much more do you want to know from me? But I'll give you a piece of advice, kid. Those people in Konoha are not easy to deal with. You don't have enough power to protect yourself now. It's best to keep a low profile. It won't do you any harm to hide your power. Yu smiled, you don't need to remind me of this. I know what to do. I'll also give you a piece of advice. You'd better help Naruto well. It will also be good for you. HMPH, forget it. Kyubi glared at Yu with a cold face. Yu shrugged, you are really stubborn. No wonder you have lived such a miserable life for so many years. Okay, then I will take a step back. At least don't cause trouble for him in the future, okay? Just watch him grow up in his body. I believe that one day you will recognize him. After all, he has the blood of the Uzumaki clan, and he is the son of the 4th Hokage. I am very optimistic about him. I think he will definitely surpass his parents in the future, and may even surpass the 1st Hokage. As soon as Yu finished speaking, Juwei laughed, ha ha ha. Boy, you are dreaming. It will be good if he can reach the strength of his mother in the future. How can he reach the strength of the 4th Hokage? This guy doesn't have the same high qualifications as the 4th Hokage. As for surpassing Senju Hashirama, it's even more ridiculous. Do you know how strong Senju Hashirama is? Although I don't like that bastard, I have to admit that he is definitely the most powerful ninja in the past few hundred years. The god of ninja, worthy of the name, absolutely no exaggeration. If you say that you can surpass that guy Senju Hashirama in the future, I can still believe it, and I think it is very likely. But Naruto, forget it, don't make fun of me. Yu murmured to himself, that's because you don't know the potential of that guy. When he thought of Naruto's performance in the 4th Ninja World War and when Sasuke sealed Kagaya Otsutsuki, Yu knew that the 9 tails underestimated Naruto. In the future, let alone Hashirama Senju, Naruto directly possesses the power of the 6 paths level, and even the super strong Kagaya Otsutsuki was sealed by him and Sasuke. It can be said that after the Fourth Ninja World War, Naruto's strength is one of the strongest ninjas in the ninja world, and he also has the power to destroy the world. Yu Yu knows Naruto very well, and naturally he will not agree with the Nine Tails' judgment. Yu Yu looked at the Nine Tails and said, "Anyway, I still hope you can not trouble him in the future. Even if you don't approve of him, at least don't let him go berserk." The Nine Tails said lightly, "That's not something I can control. That kid is a Jinchuriki, and he has the ability to mobilize part of my chakra. If he loses control of his emotions, there is a high probability that he will go berserk." Yu Yu naturally knew this. Under the influence of the 8th diagram seal, the nine-tailed fox could only control itself from giving most of its chakra to Naruto. If Naruto went berserk, some of its chakra would be extracted by the 8th diagram seal and given to Naruto. Although this part of its chakra only accounted for a small part of its body's chakra, because its chakra was too large, it could still make Naruto lose consciousness. Then don't give him a lot of chakra casually. Frequent berserk will also consume his life. Then we have an agreement. Don't cause me trouble. When I learn a new sealing technique in the future, I can change you to a better environment. How about that? The nine-tailed fox looked at Yu Yu, somewhat speechless. Except for the six-paths sage, only Yu Yu would talk to it like this. Is this something that can be discussed? Well, if Yu Yu said so, it was actually willing to consider it. You can consider it, the nine-tailed fox replied proudly. Yu Yu waved his hand. What else is there to consider? Do you have any choice? The corners of Juwei's mouth twitched slightly, and he thought to himself, I really want to give this bastard a few claws. However, Juwei still said coldly, then what did you say to me? Why don't you just make a decision directly? After saying that, he snorted arrogantly. It was obvious that he had something against Yeyu. Yeyu also knew that Juwei had resentment, so he painted a pie for it and said, if you can help Naruto before he grows up, I may be able to let you out in the future if I have the ability. Juwei frowned, why should I believe you? With my confidence in my own strength, when Naruto grows up, even if he really can't reach the height I mentioned before, I believe my strength is enough to let you out of his body. Juwei looked at Yeyu for a long time. Don't believe you, huh? The nine-tailed fox rolled his eyes at Yeyu. It's not that it doesn't believe Yeyu will be very strong in the future, but it doesn't believe Yeyu will let it go, because if the tailed beast is extracted from the body of the Jinchuriki will die. The nine-tailed fox doesn't believe that Yeyu will give up Naruto's life. Yeyu knew what the nine-tailed fox was thinking, so he said, there are many ninjutsu in the ninja world. You should know that even if the tailed beast is extracted, there are ninjutsu that can revive it. You came from the era of the six-paths sage, so you should know that. The nine-tailed fox thought for a while and said, why do you think you have those powers? Of course, the nine-tailed fox knew that there were ninjutsu that could bring the dead back to life in the ninja world. But could Yu possess that kind of power? The nine-tailed fox doubted it. But when the nine-tailed fox asked this, it was actually a little moved. Of course, it was mainly because it recognized Yu, so it had expectations for Yu. After this period of communication, the nine-tailed fox even had an idea that it would be better if it had been sealed in Yu's body. But if Yu knew about this idea, it would definitely be very unhappy. He didn't want to be a Jinchuriki. It wasn't that he couldn't accept the life of a Jinchuriki, but he didn't want a second creature to live in his body and spy on his thoughts. It was annoying just to think about it. Chapter 93. Yu smiled and said, you don't have to believe it. I'm just giving you a suggestion. Kyuubi, who was originally a little moved, looked at Yu coldly. Yu felt uneasy. Why are you looking at me like that? You don't believe it yourself. Kyuubi lay on the ground, closed his eyes, and looked like he didn't want to talk to you anymore. Yu felt that he would definitely not be able to persuade Kyuubi, so he stood up and planned to leave. Since you don't want to, forget it. I just hope you will try not to use your chakra to seduce him in the future. After all, it is Kyuubi's chakra, and he can't resist this temptation. And I think that you have been tempting him to use your chakra, which is of no benefit to you or him. It hurts others and does not benefit yourself. Why did this? Yu looked at Kyuubi. Kyuubi still closed his eyes and didn't want to pay attention to Yu. Go away, I'm going to sleep. Yu was a little speechless. But he was not angry with Kyuubi's attitude. Yu knew what kind of character Jue had. Then I'll leave. We'll see each other again if we have a chance, but it's better not to, haha. Yu disappeared into the sealed space after saying that. Jue opened his eyes only after Yu left the sealed space. Looking at the empty cell. For some reason, Jue suddenly felt a little empty. In all these years, Yu was the first person who was willing to talk to him on an equal footing, although sometimes he felt that Yu was quite annoying. But it was precisely because he regarded Yu as someone he could communicate with that he had such emotions. Otherwise, if it were someone else, he would not be annoying, but furious. Looking at the empty cell, Jue lay in the cage, muttering to himself, I don't know if that guy will come again. It's better not to come. That guy's words are really annoying, alas. Although he said so, Jue still felt a little lonely. I'm afraid that Naruto was able to gain the Nine Tails recognition in just a few months because the Nine Tails originally needed someone who could communicate with it and listen to its ideas. Originally, Naruto should have been the second person besides the Six Paths Sage, but who knew that Yu suddenly became the second? Looking at the cage that had turned black and gold, the Nine Tails smiled and said, the power of this kid is quite strong. The 8th diagram's seal is much stronger than that of Minato Namikaze. However, the 8th diagram's seal imposed by Yu is different from that of Minato Namikaze. The cell where it is imprisoned is several times larger than before, and it is also much brighter. Compared with the seal imposed by Minato Namikaze before, Yu improved its living conditions. This is Yu's plan. He thinks there is no need to make the Nine Tails live so painfully, otherwise it will only hate humans more and more. Moreover, a better environment for imprisoning the Nine Tails will also allow Naruto to communicate with the Nine Tails better in the future. Otherwise, the Nine Tails will pour out its resentment towards humans on Naruto. Yu did all this not because of how good his relationship with Naruto was. He just didn't want Naruto to go berserk and bother him in the future. After all, Yu was the only person in Konoha who had mastered the sealing technique that could seal the Nine Tails. If the Nine Tails broke the seal in the future, Kakashi would definitely ask him to do it, and he probably couldn't refuse. After all, he was from Konoha village, and he had to do this kind of thing. Yu still recognized Konoha, and as for the political struggle at the top, it had nothing to do with him. Compared with other major countries, the atmosphere in Konoha was the most suitable, and it was also the place where Yu was most willing to stay. Naturally, when something happened in the village and he needed him, he would naturally not refuse what he could do. And Naruto was the future savior, so there was no harm in having a good relationship with him in advance. Compared with enemies, Yu would rather have one more friend, and more friends meant more ways. Even if he had any requirements for Naruto, it was obviously more comfortable to have more friends than more enemies. The nine-tailed fox looked at the cage, which was more spacious and brighter than before. Although it was still a cage, it was much better than before. You know, when it was in Uzumaki Mito and Uzumaki Kushina, its body was nailed to a huge magma stone by nails. Even if it was a chakra condensate, it would still hurt. And it has lived like this for decades, which is why you can understand that the nine-tailed fox has a grudge against humans. After living like this for decades, no one would have any good feelings for the people who did these things. Not wanting to kill the other party is a kind of Stockholm syndrome. After that, the nine-tailed fox was sealed in Naruto's body by Minato Namikaze. Although the environment is better than before, it is still very bad. The whole cage is a dark and damp cell. And now Yu remodeled the cell. Although it was still a cell, Nine-tailed fox could be much freer in it and the environment was much better. Of course, Yu also maintained more chakra output. Otherwise, just an 8-diagram seal would not drain Yu's chakra. Nine-tailed fox naturally knew that. Yu did not say it just now, so it did not mention it. But in fact, it knew that it knew what Yu did. In addition, Yu was the first person willing to communicate with it on an equal footing in thousands of years. For Nine-tailed fox, even if it was just the first meeting and they only talked for a few hours. In Nine-tailed fox's heart, Yu was a different person from other humans. Even Yu had the same status as the Six Paths Sage in its heart. Of course, when facing Yu, it would never express such emotions. In the cage, Kyuubi sighed, "The ninja world is so dark, I don't know if that guy will capsize in the gutter." Hee, with that guy's personality, how could it be possible? If he capsizes, it will be someone else. That guy's personality is so bad, I guess other people in the ninja world will feel uncomfortable, ha ha ha. Kyuubi didn't want Yu to die young from the bottom of his heart. Although Yu's talent is extremely high, there is still an extremely powerful force hidden in his body. But a genius who has not grown up is not a genius. Although Yu's strength is much stronger than his peers now. But it is still not strong enough. At least in Kyuubi's opinion, Yu's strength is at the level of Kage at this time, which is very strong among the Kage level. However, he has definitely not reached the level of masters like Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. Of course, Yu is only 12 years old this year. It is too harsh to ask him to reach the level of Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama at this time. Yu himself thinks that it is rare for him to have the strength of Kage now. Even before, Yu thought that it would be amazing if he could reach the elite Jonin within half a year. His current strength was something he had never thought of before, nor dared to think of. This speed of strength improvement was probably only comparable to that of Naruto during the Fourth Ninja World War, when the Six Paths Sage directly gave him the Six Paths level power. The Nine Tails, which had nothing good to say about Yu just now showed a little more concern for Yu. It really didn't want Yu to fail in the ninja world. The Nine Tails had seen too many such things over the past thousands of years. It's not that there haven't been amazing ninjas in the ninja world over the past thousands of years, but most of them didn't grow up to be masters of the level of Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha, but died young in the ninja world battles. Chapter 94. Yu, who came out of Naruto's sealed space, naturally didn't know what the Nine Tails said afterwards. After his consciousness returned to his body, Yu put away his hands. The tailed beast coat on Naruto also disappeared. But Naruto also fainted. On Naruto's abdomen, the seal pattern at the original seal has changed. It has been replaced by the black and gold Bagua seal technique. After Yu's chakra was drained just now, his face was bloodless, but now it has recovered. Other ninjas may need a whole day to restore chakra, need to sleep, and eat a lot of food. But Yu only needs 10 minutes at most. And he doesn't need food to replenish his physical strength. He absorbs natural energy directly from the outside world, and some of this natural energy will be converted into Yu's own chakra. Some of it will nourish Yu's body and repair Yu's physical injuries. It's not unreasonable for the Nine Tails to think that Yu and Senju Hashirama are somewhat similar. Yu himself didn't know, because except for the attack from the Nine Tails just now, Yu had not suffered any injuries. In fact, Yu's body recovery ability is very strong, even catching up with Senju Hashirama. And Senju Hashirama needs to consume his own chakra to repair. Yu directly absorbs natural energy from the outside world to repair. In theory, as long as Yu is not killed, he will recover quickly no matter how serious his injuries are. Of course, it is not too exaggerated. If the injury is too serious, it will take a long time to recover. So Yu, who had his chakra drained and pale just now, has now recovered his normal complexion and his chakra is also very abundant. After settling Naruto, Yu came to the balcony and stretched his body. Looking at Kakashi and others standing hundreds of meters away from the house. Yu smiled and waved at them. "Teacher Kakashi, it's all right, come back." Under the moonlight, Kakashi and others looked at Yu on the balcony. Kakashi breathed a sigh of relief. "I knew he would be fine. He is indeed worthy of being my disciple." Originally, Sakura and Sasuke, who were quite happy, immediately turned pale when they heard Kakashi's words. Sasuke remembered that when he and his brother competed for his father's recognition, it was for such words. At this time, even though he had no barriers to Yu, he still felt uncomfortable when he heard Kakashi say that. Sakura said it bluntly, Hey, Teacher Kakashi, we are also your disciples, and your attention is always on Yu. At least pay attention to us." Sakura was a little jealous. Of course, she had no opinion on Yu. In fact, because Yu had saved her several times, Yu's position in her heart could even be compared with Sasuke. It's just that children always get jealous when they hear their elders, especially their teachers, praising their classmates. Kakashi scratched his head in embarrassment. Ha, Sakura, don't say that. I'm also very concerned about you." Sakura turned her head away. HMPH, your eyes are only on Yu all day long, how can you care about us? Kakashi also felt a little helpless. However, Yu's position in his heart is indeed higher. After all, Yu was pulled over by him from Mumoto Doji, and he regarded Yu as his own disciple. Although he also valued Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura, they were mostly tasks arranged by the third generation. Even before he had contact with these three people, Kakashi had never thought of taking over. Even after taking over, he only regarded himself as their leader and the three as his subordinates. When Kakashi just came out of the Anbu, he really cared about the hierarchy. At the beginning, he treated Sasuke and the other two as his subordinates, which was not a problem. Originally, the relationship between the leader of the Genin and the Jonin was basically like this. After Sasuke and the other two passed the test of snatching the bell, he really regarded them as his students. But there is still a little difference with Yu. Of course, after getting along with each other for this period of time, he does feel that it is easier to get along with Yu. Sasuke and the other two have different personalities, and Kakashi is not easy to get along with them. There were several times before that if Yu hadn't rescued him, he didn't know how to deal with it. I guess he can only use his teacher's identity to put pressure on him, but the effect is obviously not good. At this time, after being said by Sakura, Kakashi also felt that he paid too much attention to Yu. Now Yu's strength no longer needs his attention, or in other words, he doesn't need to keep watching to prevent accidents. Now, apart from his experience in dealing with people and his experience as a ninja, he has nothing to teach Yu. Kakashi now wants thinking about it, it feels like a dream. It's only been more than a month, and the child has grown to this point. He is really like the fourth generation, and the teacher doesn't need to worry about him at all. Jiraiya had told Kakashi some things about Minato Namikaze before. When Jiraiya led Minato Namikaze, he basically let him roam freely. If Minato Namikaze was not very talented and studious, he would probably be as mediocre as his two teammates. Kakashi thought helplessly, Master Jiraiya can teach the fourth generation of Myoboku Mountains ninjutsu and give the fourth generation many very useful ninjutsu. It seems that I have nothing to teach Yu except a Chidori. He doesn't like my summoning beast either. It's really a bit distressing. It seems that I have to pay attention to the information of the three holy places in the future. With Yu's current strength, only the summoning beasts of the three holy places can help him. If Sakura and Sasuke knew what Kakashi was thinking at this time, they would probably want to die. Sakura just said Kakashi was partial, but Kakashi could still think about these things. He actually wanted to find the three holy places for Yu. If Yu and Kakashi didn't look alike, Sakura and Sasuke would have to guess whether Yu and Kakashi were father and son. It is estimated that even the father-son relationship would not be so good. In any case, Kakashi wanted to find the news of the 3 holy places at this time, and wait for Yuyu's next birthday as his birthday gift. Of course, Kakashi thought so, in addition to Yuyu being his recognized disciple, and Yuyu is strong enough, and there was no threat to Konoha. In Kakashi's view, Yuyu would definitely grow into a Konoha hero like Minato Namikaze in the future. Of course, he didn't hope that Yuyu would die after sealing the 9 tails like the 4th generation. He hoped that Yuyu could become the guardian of Konoha and the pillar of Konoha. From the beginning, Kakashi had high expectations for Yuyu. In just a moment, Kakashi thought of many things. Looking at Yuyu waving at them from a distance, Kakashi smiled and said, "Let's go and see how Yuyu is doing." After that, he ignored the helpless expressions of Sakura and Sasuke and disappeared in front of everyone. He was indeed anxious to see how Yuyu repaired Naruto's seal. Sakura looked at the empty place and could only sigh. Teacher Kakashi is really, he only pays attention to Yuyu. We are his students, and Yuyu and we are not in the same team. Sasuke didn't say anything, but he was a little unhappy with Kakashi's move. Of course, it was just unhappy. Sasuke actually had a good impression of Yuyu. After all, for so many years, only Yuyu would patiently tell him so many things he didn't know before. It's just that no matter how good he is to Yuyu, he is still a teenager after all, and he will always be unhappy. Chapter 95. When Kakashi came to the room, he saw Naruto lying unconscious. Yuyu, who was originally pale, now looked as pale as before, not as sickly as before. What's wrong? Are you okay? Kakashi was still more worried about Yuyu's safety. Yuyu looked at Naruto and smiled. It's okay, it was successful. By the way, I think it's not enough to repair the seal of the 4th Hokage, so I put another Bagua seal on Naruto. In the future, unless Naruto takes the initiative to ask, the Nine-Tail will not have a chance to make him run away. Kakashi was stunned for a moment. Then you were so miserable just now because of the seal. Yuyu shook his head. No, I was attacked by the Nine-Tail in Naruto's sealed space. Fortunately, it can still communicate and didn't attack again. Kakashi was stunned. You communicated with the Nine-Tail. In Kakashi's mind, the Nine-Tail is a natural disaster, a monster. How can it communicate with humans? The reason why Kakashi thought so was because he didn't know much about the tailed beasts and regarded them as weapons. Yuyu nodded. Well, the 9-tailed beast is a tailed beast. The tailed beasts are intelligent, and their intelligence is not worse than that of humans, so they can communicate naturally. I originally planned to discuss with it so that it could recognize Naruto and help Naruto grow in the future, but it refused. Yuyu felt a little sorry. Kakashi looked at Yuyu with a slight twitch at the corner of his mouth. After living for so long, this was the first time he saw someone discuss such things with the tailed beasts. Kakashi didn't know the existence of Killer Bee, nor did he know about the perfect Jinchuriki. Naturally, he didn't know that the Jinchuriki could coexist peacefully with the tailed beasts. So when he heard Yuyu's words, it was like listening to a myth. Of course, he would definitely not doubt Yuyu. But he couldn't imagine how Yuyu dared to communicate with the 9-tailed beast. He actually wanted the 9-tailed beast to assist Naruto. Isn't this a foolish dream? Not to mention that the 9-tail refused. The 9-tail didn't kill Yuyu, which was considered to be able to communicate. Kakashi still felt a little scared when he thought about it now. You are too risky. That's the 9-tail. It's very difficult to seal it. You actually asked it for this. You are lucky. Yuyu smiled and said, "Don't be so nervous, Teacher Kakashi. It was just that the 9-tail was difficult to communicate with at the beginning. After that, we communicated for a long time. In fact, the reason why the 9-tail hated humans so much and behaved so fiercely was entirely because it was sealed in the body of the Jinchuriki for a long time, so it had resentment towards humans. If you communicate well, it can still accept some opinions." Although it refused to assist Naruto, it also agreed not to tempt Naruto to use its chakra in the future. At least it can reduce the chance of Naruto going berserk in the future. Although my newly added sealing technique can completely seal the Nine Tails, if Naruto actively seeks power from the Nine Tails, the seal will not stop him. You can also imagine that if Naruto is defeated in the battle in the future, he will definitely seek power from the Nine Tails. It's just that before you completely master the Nine Tails chakra, using a large amount of its chakra will cause great damage to the body. Don't think that Naruto can recover every time because of the Uzumaki clan and the Nine Tails ability, but that will shorten his life. So my suggestion is that before you completely master the Nine Tails chakra, don't use its chakra if you can. Kakashi was stunned when Yu said this. He didn't expect Yu to communicate with the Nine Tails about this, and the key point was that the Nine Tails actually agreed. Looking at Yu, Kakashi didn't know what to say for a while. Should he be happy that his disciple is so powerful, or should he worry that Yu is too bold? He saw when Yu's face turned pale just now. He even vomited blood. That was the first time he saw Yu in such a miserable state. When Yu was practicing Chidori, his chakra was drained, but he was not so miserable. He just fainted. But Yu almost died just now. Kakashi was silent for a long time, and just said, "Don't do such risky things in the future. Your own safety is the most important." Yu looked at Kakashi's serious look. He knew what Kakashi was worried about. He did not refute, but nodded. After talking to Yu, Kakashi came to Naruto. Looking at the sealing technique that had already changed, Kakashi could feel the strong chakra fluctuations from the sealing technique. It is indeed different from the sealing technique of the fourth Hokage. It is obviously the same sealing technique, how can it be different? Kakashi looked at Yu and asked. Yu explained, because my chakra is different from ordinary chakra, it is different from that of the fourth Hokage. But I enhance the sealing effect of this technique. The previous 8 diagrams seal of the fourth Hokage actually left a large gap. I know the fourth Hokage's purpose. He wanted to use that gap to continuously convert part of the Nine Tails chakra into Naruto's own chakra. That's why Naruto's chakra is so huge. In fact, if there was no sealing technique left by the fourth Hokage to convert part of the Nine Tails chakra into Naruto's chakra would not be so huge. It is even impossible to have more than Kakashi, at least not now. But with the part of the Nine Tails chakra converted, Naruto's chakra is now more than twice that of Kakashi. After a few years, it will be 4 times that of Kakashi. Of course, Kakashi's chakra is also very huge, if it is not continuously consumed by the Sharingan that cannot be closed. Kakashi nodded. He had observed that there was something wrong with the amount of chakra in Naruto before. And it is obvious that the chakra of the Nine Tails probably occupies the vast majority of Naruto's chakra. If Naruto relied on his own chakra alone, just like during the Chunin exam, he would not be able to summon Gamabunta. In the end, he needed the chakra provided by the Nine Tails to summon Gamabunta. The summoning technique is only AC level ninjutsu, but the summoning technique is very powerful. The more powerful the summoned beast is, the more chakra is needed. Sakura and Tsunade both use the 100 healings technique, and they could only summon 1/10 of the living slug of the wet bone forest. It can be seen that the larger the summoned beast is, the stronger it is, and the more chakra it needs. During the Chunin exam, Naruto could not summon Gamabunta without using the Nine Tails chakra. It can be seen that Naruto's chakra at this time is not huge. He is stronger than ninjas of the same age, but definitely not as much as Kakashi, an elite Jonin. Of course, if the Nine Tails chakra converted through the 8 diagram seal is added in these years, Naruto's chakra can reach about twice that of Kakashi. Kakashi had always been puzzled before, why Naruto had so much chakra at such a young age. Even if he had the blood of the Uzumaki clan, it would not be so outrageous. And Naruto only has half the blood of the Uzumaki clan. Now after Yu explained, he understood. Chapter 96. Yu continued, Now Naruto has 2 Bagua seals in his body. The main function of the 4th generation's Bagua seal has become to convert part of the 9 tails chakra into Naruto's chakra. The seal is not very stable. Although I have reinforced it, as long as Naruto continues to use the 9 tails chakra, it will become looser and looser. In this case, I need to continuously reinforce it, which is very troublesome. So I simply added a Bagua seal. The main function of the Bagua seal I added is to prohibit the 9 tails from actively outputting chakra to Naruto. And the sealing technique does not leave any gaps. The seal strength is also much higher. As long as Naruto does not actively unlock the seal, the 9 tails cannot break through the seal by itself. And the 4 generations of gossip seals also continue to play a role, mainly responsible for transforming the 9-tailed chakra. My gossip seal is mainly responsible for sealing 9 tails. The degree was very high. This appeared when Kakashi hit Pain later. Kakashi was a little angry at this time. Yu was really taking a risk. Yu smiled awkwardly. My recovery ability is still good, isn't it okay now? Yu, I have to teach you the experience of ninjas. You must not use chakra unlimitedly in combat. As a qualified ninja, you must always calculate your chakra amount. When the chakra amount is too little, you should consider giving up the mission. Of course, Kakashi's experience is obviously completely different from the ninja code. The ninja code is to complete the mission first, and if necessary, sacrifice your life to complete the mission. Yu naturally learned the ninja code. But he did not refute Kakashi. Just nodded, I know, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi patted Yu's shoulder. You have done a lot for Naruto, but I don't want you to have an accident due to negligence in the future. Neither I nor Tongi want this to happen. You must remember that a genius who grows up is a real genius, and a genius who does not grow up can only be a name that is forgotten at any time. If it were someone else, Kakashi would definitely say this. Because these words are obviously not in line with the code of ninjas. But Kakashi doesn't want Yu to have an accident before he grows up. This kind of thing is too common in the ninja world. There are many geniuses, but many geniuses die before they grow up. Yu nodded. After a while, Sakura and Sasuke also arrived. Looking at Naruto lying on the bed, Sakura asked with some concern, Yu, Kakashi-sensei, how is Naruto? He's fine. He just fainted due to the massive outflow of the 9 tails chakra. He's fine now. Yu explained. Sasuke frowned at Yu. Have you finished? Yu nodded. Yes, it's done. It seems that your sealing technique is already practical. At least this guy will be able to go berserk in the future. Sasuke said coldly. Of course, this is his speaking style. Yu looked at Sasuke and smiled. I hope you can develop your Sharingan well. Even if the 9 tails breaks the seal in the future, you can use your Sharingan to control it. Sasuke was stunned for a moment. Then he said coldly, who knows if it will be that strong. Although the tone was very cold, the words were not confident. After all, Yu was by his side, and he had seen Yu show too much strength during this period, so he was a little unconfident about his own strength. Yu is the same age as him, but he is much stronger than him. He even thinks that Yu is stronger than Uchiha Itachi at this time. Of course, this is just Sasuke's own guess. If Yu were to challenge Uchiha Itachi at this time, Yu would definitely not dare. It's not that he is afraid of his ninjutsu, but he is not confident in his Mangekyo Sharingan. Yu knows that Uchiha Itachi can kill it in 1 second with just 1 month of reading. Kakashi at this time. Even Orochimaru had no power to resist him. Although he was in poor health, his pair of Mangekyo Sharingan was too powerful. When Yu fought with him, the first thing Yu thought about was definitely not how to defeat him, but how to escape and escape. It was not that he was cowardly, but he knew the strength of Uchiha Itachi, and there was no need to fight meaninglessly. Of course, no one knew whether Yu could beat Uchiha Itachi, but he had no confidence. He had never thought about fighting Uchiha Itachi now. In fact, with Yu Yu's current strength, it would not be too dangerous to deal with Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi could threaten Yu Yu with illusions, just illusions. And this was when Yu Yu was not very familiar with illusions. During this period, Yu Yu had learned many ninjutsu, but only a few basic illusions. For Yu Yu, Uchiha Itachi's strongest ability is not his Susanoo, not Amaterasu, nor the sealing ability of several Mangekyo Sharingan. Before there is a way to deal with illusions, even if Yu Yu meets Uchiha Itachi, he will probably run away. Yu Yu heard Sasuke's lack of confidence and smiled. Why, you don't have confidence? Sasuke rolled his eyes at Yu Yu and said, I will definitely surpass you. Then I'll wait for you to surpass, but you have to develop your Sharingan to the extreme, at least to the level of Kakashi teacher. Sasuke looked at Kakashi. His eyes were full of expectations. It gave Kakashi a headache. Sasuke might pester him later. Who made him Sasuke's teacher, and he did have some experience in developing Sharingan. If Sasuke came to him, he would definitely teach. Otherwise, Sasuke would blame him for being partial. But it's good this way. He originally wanted to teach Yu Yu well. Who knew that Yu Yu had learned his ninjutsu thoroughly in less than 2 months? Apart from the Sharingan, he had nothing to teach Yu Yu. Now he can teach Sasuke, Naruto and Sakura well. It's time for him to do his job. So Kakashi nodded and promised, I will teach you how to control the Sharingan, and your Sharingan should be open to the state of 2 Magatama, right? Sasuke nodded. One eye is 2 Magatama, and the other eye is still 1 Magatama. Yes, it's good to be able to reach this level at this age. Kakashi remembered that Obito seemed to have opened the 2 Magatama Sharingan at the age of 13. Of course, what Kakashi didn't know was that Obito also opened the Mangekyo Sharingan in the same year. However, the earlier you open your Sharingan, the stronger it is. After all, Uchiha Madara opened his 1 Magatama Sharingan at the age of 15, and Sasuke opened his 1 Magatama Sharingan at the age of 6 because of a tragic experience. And because of his age, his physical condition at the time was already the limit of opening 1 Magatama. Now Sasuke has 2 Magatama in one eye, and 1 Magatama in the other because he saw Naruto fall in front of him. Chapter 97. After getting Kakashi's promise, Sasuke said nothing more. A week later, the bridge in Wave Country was finally completed. Originally, Dasna wanted to name the bridge, Yu Yu Bridge. But Yu Yu refused. Later, Dasna named the bridge, Bridge of Hope. Yu Yu naturally didn't want his reputation to be too loud at this time. If it didn't benefit him, Yu Yu would naturally not do it. After more than a month in Wave Country, they finally completed the task. Originally it was just AC level task, who knew it would be upgraded to AB level task. Of course, for Yu Yu, this task was of great benefit to him. It allowed his strength to soar from genin to cage level in just over a month. Now Yu Yu's strength is stronger than Kakashi. This is Kakashi's judgment. Yu Yu himself feels that his current strength is at the level of Jonin. Because he feels that his actual combat experience is still far from Jonin. Only by relying on his own huge amount of chakra and mastering many practical ninjutsu did he barely raise his strength to the level of a Jonin. But he himself did not believe that anyone who barely reached the level of a Jonin could kill an elite Jonin in a short time, and an elite Jonin of one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. He also released a ninjutsu of hundreds of meters to suppress Naruto in the two-tail state. Yu Yu has always been conservative in his evaluation of himself. Maybe it was because he knew the fate of Kagaya Otsutsuki during the 4th Ninja World War, so he always calculated his strength with an extremely conservative estimate. The lesson Kagaya Otsutsuki taught him was too great, making him extremely cautious. After the group returned to Konoha, they came to the Hokage building to submit the task. Because Yu Yu participated in this task, he also needed to come in person. Hokage office. The 3rd Hokage looked at the 5 people standing in front of him. Especially Yu Yu, This was the first time Yu and the third Hokage officially met. The third Hokage had not noticed Yu before, and even after knowing Yu, the third Hokage had not had time to meet Yu. After Kakashi reported the general situation of the mission in the Land of Waves, the third Hokage nodded. This mission is considered a B-level mission, and it is well done. Missions above A level need to be issued by the country, so even if there are elite jonin participating in this mission, it can only be considered a B-level mission. Because it was Dasna who issued this mission, he issued the mission in his personal name. After chatting with everyone for a few words, the third Hokage said, "Kakashi, you two stay, and the others go back to rest first." Kakashi frowned. Yu didn't feel anything. Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura thought that the third Hokage kept Kakashi and Yu to praise them. After all, in this mission, Kakashi and Yu performed the best, especially Yu. This fits the image of the third Hokage in their hearts. Even Sasuke, whose character was extremely cold and arrogant because of the extermination of the Uchiha clan, had a great liking for the third Hokage. Because the third Hokage really took good care of him, whether it was because he valued Sasuke or because of Uchiha Itachi's instructions. The third Hokage's concern for Sasuke really made Sasuke have no opinion on him. It was even more impossible for Naruto and Sakura to think that there was anything wrong with the third Hokage. So when he left, Naruto looked at Yu with envy, thinking in his heart, "I will definitely surpass Yu." Although Naruto usually likes to play pranks on the third Hokage, in his heart, he really regards the third Hokage as his grandfather. So he really hopes to get praise from the third Hokage. After Naruto, Sasuke and the others left, only the third Hokage, Yu and Kakashi were left in the Hokage's office. After a long time, the third generation said to Kakashi, "Kakashi, tell me the details of this mission." Kakashi sighed in his heart. The reason why he only roughly talked about the mission in the Land of Waves was that he didn't want the third generation to think about it in detail. But because Naruto and others were there, Kakashi couldn't make up many things, so he said them very briefly. This is the biggest problem. The third generation is an old fox, and he can naturally hear what he is covering up. Yu also noticed that the atmosphere was not right. Fortunately, he knew the third generation and was not worried about anything happening. But he certainly couldn't hide what happened in the Land of Waves. Of course, Yu didn't want to hide it. After all, he was a ninja of Konoha, and there was no family behind him that was making trouble all day long, so the third generation didn't have any ill will towards him. But Yu really didn't want the third generation to know his current strength. After all, the greater the responsibility, the greater the burden. Who knows if the third generation will he is like a cow and a horse. You have to know that he is now a genin, and he can't get much money by accepting more difficult tasks. Kakashi thought about it, and of course he didn't want to tell Yu about it. But the task of Wave Country is not only for Kakashi and Yu, but also for Sasuke and the other three. If Kakashi said something different from Sasuke and the others, it would not be good for Yu. Kakashi looked at Yu and had no choice but to tell the details of Wave Country. The third generation was very calm at first, but he became more and more frightened after listening to the back. Yu was able to kill an elite jonin at this time, and he was also one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, Kuroki Raiga. And he was able to suppress the runaway Naruto. The third generation Hokage naturally knew the 7 ninja swordsmen very well. After all, the 7 ninja swordsmen were an extremely powerful force in the Hidden Mist village. They were extremely famous in the Third Ninja World War, although they were kicked into 3 musketeers by Might Day. But the third generation knew their strength very well. Everyone is an elite jonin, and with the help of ninja swords, some can even reach the level of Kage. Although Might Guy killed the 4 of them, he fought with his life. If he really used normal means, even Kakashi would not dare to say that he could kill them. What does it mean? At this time, Yu's strength may have reached the strength of an elite jonin. It's only been a short time. After Kakashi finished speaking, the third generation looked at Yu. Yu, it seems that being a genin is no longer suitable for you. Yu was stunned for a moment. I don't know what the third generation means. Is he going to promote him? But he has just carried out a few missions, and they are all D-level and C-level missions. Seeing Yu's appearance, the third generation smiled and said, with your strength and ability, you should be promoted to a chunin. Kakashi on the side was very happy. It's not because Yu has been upgraded, but because after Yu has been upgraded, it will be legitimate for him to take Yu out of the village to perform tasks. After becoming a chunin, he is no longer a ninja trainee. He is a real ninja, and he does not need to follow the guidance of the jonin. He is a completely independent individual and can be transferred by the jonin at any time. And with Kakashi's identity, it is not so strange to want to transfer Yu to perform tasks together. After all, Kakashi is not Yu's guiding jonin, and he often transfers him out to perform tasks, not to mention whether Motoki Ichi has any objection. It is also very strange in the eyes of other ninjas. But if Yu is a chunin, it will be completely different. Kakashi can transfer Yu at any time. Chapter 98. Before Yu responded, Kakashi smiled and said, I also think Yu should be promoted to chunin. Not all chunins need to go through the chunin exam. In fact, most chunins or jonins in each large ninja village do not go through the chunin exam. After all, according to the elimination mechanism of the chunin exam, it is impossible for each ninja village to produce so many ninjas during the Fourth Ninja World War. So many chunins and jonins can be promoted after the number of tasks they have completed and the corresponding strength meets the requirements. Of course, Yu has only performed a few tasks, and they are all low-level tasks. Even if the tasks of the Wave Country are counted, he has only performed one B-level task. The number of tasks performed does not meet the requirements at all. However, the Hokage originally has the power to directly promote a ninja to chunin or jonin. After all, the Hokage's strength is almost the strongest in Konoha. He knows the strength of a ninja best. Naturally, no one will doubt the strength and ability of the chunin and jonin he promoted. In other words, it is an honor to be promoted by the Hokage himself. This means that the Hokage thinks highly of you, and it also means that other forces in the village will realize who is behind you. This was the case with Minato Namikaze. A civilian ninja who could marry Uzumaki Kushina, become Jiraiya's disciple, and be chosen by the third Hokage as the fourth Hokage. In addition to his high talent, Minato Namikaze was originally from the third Hokage's faction. Of course, neither Yu nor Kakashi cared about this. Yu didn't care who regarded him as one of their own, and Kakashi didn't care whether the third Hokage regarded Yu as a member of his faction. Kakashi himself was from the third Hokage's faction. He was a disciple of Minato Namikaze, and had been from the third Hokage's faction from the beginning. The third Hokage naturally agreed with Yu's solicitation. The third Hokage originally intended to train Yu as the second Minato Namikaze. After all, Yu and Minato Namikaze are very similar. He has extremely high talent, a very clean background, and is also a disciple of Kakashi. But now Yu's growth has exceeded his imagination. He is a little distressed about how to arrange Yu. After thinking about it, he can only promote him to chunin first, so that it will be more convenient for him to participate in Konoha's affairs in the future. The third Hokage is now in his 60s. When Yu is 20 years old, he will be in his 70s. At that time, he doesn't want to retire, but his body won't allow it. After all, he doesn't have the physical fitness of the Senju clan. Even if he is strong when he is young, his strength will decline greatly when he is old. He actually planned to abdicate before. It's just that Konoha really can't find someone who can take over his position. Jiraiya is unwilling, and his personality is not suitable. Tsunade also has various problems. Originally, the most suitable candidate was Orochimaru, but after he chose Minato Namikaze, Orochimaru was completely abandoned. And Orochimaru also defected from the village. Could it be given to Danzo? Let alone Danzo's age, the third generation would never let him be the Hokage just because of his philosophy. As for two advisors, it is even more impossible. If these two people were not disciples of the second generation Hokage, they would not be qualified to be the Hokage advisors at all, and their strength was completely substandard. There is only one person left who may have a chance, and that is Kakashi. But after Kakashi's previous decline, his strength did not improve much. He was not experienced in the first place, and without the absolute strength as a backing, no one would obey him. This is also the dilemma of the third generation now. Even if he wants to abdicate, he can't find someone to take over. But now when he sees Yu, it's like seeing Minato Namikaze back then. But now Yu is indeed very inexperienced, far inferior to Kakashi. Since his qualifications cannot be improved in a short period of time, he can only make his strength to overwhelm everyone. First of all, he must be promoted to a higher level of ninja, so that he can participate in the affairs of the village. Yu did not know what the third generation was thinking, but thought that the third generation wanted him to be a slave as soon as possible. However, Yu was also very happy. He originally planned to improve his ninja level, so that he could take on some high-level tasks in the future, earn more money, and accumulate more practical experience. If the third generation knew Yu's thoughts, he would probably be mad to death. He thought for a long time before deciding to train Yu and let him take over his job. Yu just thought that he could make more money after being promoted to a chunin. Yu was stunned for a while, and saw the third generation looking at him. Yu asked, "Booty have only carried out a few missions, so I am not qualified to be promoted to chunin, right?" The third generation smiled and said, "Indeed, but you have the leadership and strength required to be a chunin. Of course you can be promoted to chunin." Yu no longer doubted and nodded, "Thank you, Hokage." Seeing that Yu accepted it, the third generation was very satisfied. "Why thank me? You should have been promoted to chunin. If you hadn't graduated from the ninja school less than a year ago, you should have been promoted to jonin." Yu waved his hand quickly, "That's not the case. It's rare to be promoted to chunin." The third generation looked at Kakashi and said, "Your teacher was a chunin at the age of 6. You should learn from him." Kakashi said quickly, "It was because of the war years and the situation was special. But you are the only one who can do it. Both of you, the master and the apprentice, have extremely high ninja talents. I feel relieved that Kakashi is teaching you, and the future of Konoha will depend on you." After the third Hokage said this, Yu felt speechless. This sentence was too heavy. Yu felt that the third Hokage was just being polite, but he felt that this politeness was too heavy. Yu said, "Lord Hokage, your words are too heavy. I can only do my part." Of course, Yu's words were sincere. After he was promoted to chunin, he only planned to do what he needed to do, earn the money he could earn, and live the life he could live. He didn't want to get involved in other things in Konoha. But Kakashi knew that the third generation would never let Yu stay out of it. Kakashi had heard the implication from the third generation's words. Although he was happy, he was also a little worried. Yu was too young, and it would not be good for him to get involved in the struggle among the top leaders. Even Kakashi himself didn't want to get involved. But he also knew that Yu was different now, and had completely entered the eyes of the third generation, and in Kakashi's opinion, Yu's strength had reached the level of Hokage. Even if he didn't want to get involved, he couldn't do it. Kakashi sighed inwardly, "It seems that I have to get involved." If it were before, Kakashi would naturally be unwilling to get involved in Konoha's power struggle, but now Yu was pulled in by the third generation, and Kakashi could only follow him in. Chapter 99. The third generation smiled and didn't intend to talk about these things anymore. Instead, he thought of something and said, "Kakashi taught you many ninjutsu. Have you mastered them all?" Yu didn't know what the third generation meant. But he didn't hide the fact that he had mastered them all. It seems that he doesn't have many ninjutsu to teach you. Although Kakashi has mastered many ninjutsu, most of them are conventional ninjutsu. I'm afraid there won't be many that will be useful to you. If you want to learn any ninjutsu in the future, go to the database. There are all the ninjutsu information of Konoha, including some forbidden techniques. Kakashi was stunned. He didn't expect the third generation to be so generous. Yu might not know where the database is. The database is where all the information of Konoha is sealed, not only Konoha's ninjutsu, but also many historical archives of Konoha. Even some secret information, both black and white. Even he couldn't freely enter the database to query information. When he went to look up the relevant information about wood release, he also sneaked in and was discovered by the third generation. Later, the third generation gave him information about wood release, including some of Konoha's research on wood release. Only those who are very trusted by the Hokage and have a high position are qualified to enter and look up the information. Even the Book of Seals is in it. This means that the third generation has completely trusted Yu, but it also means that Yu can only be completely tied to the Hokage. Yu was quite happy. He was indeed very interested in many ninjutsu of Konoha. For example, the Flying Thunder God technique, such as wood release, such as some sealing techniques, especially the sealing techniques of the Whirlpool clan. So Yu smiled and said, "Thank you, Hokage." The third generation nodded, but Kakashi had a complicated expression. After chatting with the third generation for a few words, Kakashi took Yu out of the Hokage building. And Yu's file was also updated, and now he is already a chunin. All these changes were hard to believe even for Yu. Although he was confident in his own strength, he did not think he could become a chunin at this age. This meant that he could make more money and accumulate more practical experience in the future. But Kakashi did not smile. Yu also noticed it and asked, "Teacher Kakashi, are you not happy?" The two walked on the street. Kakashi glanced at Yu and said, "I am happy, but do you know why the Hokage promoted you?" Yu smiled, put his hands in his pockets, and said nonchalantly, "I may know, but I don't care." Kakashi paused. Looking at Yu's faint smile, he thought of something and laughed. "That's right, there is no need to care. No matter what, I will follow you into it." Yu actually did not know the real purpose of the third generation. He thought the third generation just wanted to squeeze him earlier. Little did he know that the third generation was planning to train him, and even planned to skip Kakashi and let him take over his position directly and become the fifth generation Hokage. Just like Minato Namikaze back then. If Yu had not shown the strength he had in the Land of Waves, the third generation would naturally train him slowly, and Kakashi would be more suitable for the position of the fifth generation Hokage. He would not need to worry about the sixth generation Hokage. That was a problem for Kakashi to consider. But now the strength shown by Yu forced the third generation to change his previous ideas. Just like when he first hoped that Orochimaru could take over his position, and he trained Orochimaru as his successor. But Minato Namikaze appeared, and the things that Orochimaru did reached his tolerance limit, so he handed over the position of Hokage to Minato Namikaze. After all, Minato Namikaze was from his line, and he was his disciple. Now the third generation is still planning to do so. He thinks that Yu's future potential must be higher than Minato Namikaze. Although Minato Namikaze's talent is also very high, it is definitely not as outrageous as Yu's. Yu's talent is not like Minato Namikaze's, but it is very similar to the first Hokage Senju Hashirama. The third generation has confirmed that Yu has a sage body. Kakashi's words made Yu speechless. He thought Kakashi was talking about taking him with him when he went out of the village to perform missions in the future. He said with some resentment, "Teacher Kakashi, there is no teacher who exploits his students like you." Kakashi was stunned for a moment. He suspected that Yu didn't understand what he said. So he said, do you know what the third generation said means? I know, isn't it just to promote me to Chunin so that I can fight for the village? I have already realized this. Kakashi's mouth twitched slightly. He was sure that Yu did not understand what the third generation said. The third generation did not understand what he meant. Helplessly, Kakashi could only explain to Yu, the third generation promoted you to Chunin, how could he ask you to do these things? The third generation personally promoted you to Chunin, just to show his attitude to other forces in the village, and also to show your current faction. And he let you enter the database, which is a trust in you. Even if I want to enter the database, I need the permission of the third generation before I can enter. Yu frowned. Kakashi thought Yu was unwilling. After all, based on his understanding of Yu, he felt that Yu did not like this kind of power struggle. Just when Kakashi was about to explain to him the benefits of agreeing, Yu nodded, whatever, it doesn't matter whose faction it is, just do my job well, I don't want to care about other things, and I can't care. Kakashi looked at Yu, and he didn't expect Yu to be so open-minded. Don't you care about the third generation's self-willed decision? Yu smiled and said, what's so strange? He is the Hokage and has such power. And it doesn't hurt me if he does that, and there is no need to blame him. Kakashi also smiled and said, it's good that you can think so. Now you are a Chunin. When I need your assistance in the future, I can do it justifiably, and even Iji can't stop me. If Teacher Iji knew you said that, he probably wouldn't be happy. Yu said lightly. He won't. He will only be happy when he knows you have been promoted to Chunin. Kakashi smiled and said. The two walked on the street for a while. When they passed by Ichiraku Ramen, they met Naruto and his 3 friends who were about to go to Ichiraku Ramen to eat noodles. Teacher Kakashi, you finally came out. Kakashi and Yu looked at Naruto who waved at them. Sasuke and Sakura stood behind Naruto. Yu looked at Kakashi and said with a smile, Teacher Kakashi, it seems that you have to treat us today. Kakashi sighed, ah. Kakashi was a little helpless. He had originally thought of buying a book by Jiraiya later. Fortunately, Naruto likes to eat ramen. If he likes to eat barbecue, his wallet will really be empty. The two came to Ichiraku Ramen. Naruto smiled and said, Teacher Kakashi, Yu, did you know that we were going to eat ramen here? Kakashi didn't say anything. Yu said, well, Kakashi said he would treat us. Hearing this, Naruto's eyes lit up and he shouted, long live Kakashi teacher. Kakashi looked at Yu and his mouth twitched slightly. When did he say that? Although he knew that this meal must be his treat. Sasuke looked at Yu. He wanted to know what the third generation and Yu were doing in the Hokage's office just now. The same is true for Sakura. Chapter 100. After they sat down, Naruto looked at Kakashi and asked, Teacher Kakashi, why did the old man Sandai leave you here? Sasuke and Sakura also looked over, they also wanted to know. Yu sat next to Kakashi and didn't say anything. Kakashi naturally couldn't tell what Sandai said to him. He just said lightly, he just asked about the details of this mission, and because Yu performed well, he was promoted to Chunin from today. Ayame, who was making ramen for everyone, was stunned for a moment. Turning his head to look at Yu, his face full of joy, really? Yu, you really became a Chunin. Yu smiled and said, yeah, I'm lucky. Shoda on the side also said happily, sure enough, I said long ago that Yu is so good, he will definitely achieve great success in the future. To celebrate your becoming a Chunin, all of you will get a free meal today. Shoda said proudly. Yu quickly said, Uncle Shuda, you don't have to do this. Shuda waved his hand, that won't work. This is a good thing worth celebrating. Of course we have to celebrate. Seeing Shuda's happy face, Yu couldn't persuade him and could only agree. Because Yu often came here to eat ramen before, Shuda and Ayame were very familiar with Yu and had a good relationship with him. When Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura heard the news, they were stunned. They looked at Yu in surprise. Yu, have you really become a chunin? Sakura asked in disbelief. Yu nodded. It should be, the third Hokage said so. Naruto looked unhappy. Why is it that only Yu can be promoted to chunin? I have also performed very well. Why? The third Hokage is really confused. Although he was not jealous, he even felt that Yu could have become a chunin a long time ago. But he was still envious. Sasuke also frowned. Although he was not so enthusiastic about becoming a chunin, he was still a little jealous when he saw Yu become a chunin. This was inevitable. After all, Yu and he were classmates, and they had just completed the same mission. Yu was actually promoted to chunin by the third Hokage himself. This treatment still made him very envious, and even a little jealous. Kakashi said, Naruto, if you want to become a chunin, you have to work harder, and even work harder to surpass Yu. Naruto stared at Yu, and he still didn't understand why Yu could become a chunin. Although Yu was indeed very strong, didn't chunin need to complete many tasks? Yu didn't even complete as many tasks as him. Yu had indeed only completed 2D level tasks and 1 C level task. Naruto completed 3D level tasks and 1 C level task. Although the third Hokage said that the Wave Country mission was a B level mission, it did not change in the file. So that mission was still a C level mission. Sasuke looked at Yu, although he was jealous, but he also knew that Yu's strength was enough. Idiot, don't forget who saved you when you were in trouble. Although he was jealous of Yu, Sasuke still helped Yu out. Because he recognized Yu's strength very much. Sakura also echoed, yes, don't you think Yu is not worthy of being a chunin? Seeing Sasuke and Sakura arguing with him, Naruto pouted aggrievedly, when did I say he was unworthy? But, he really only completed a few tasks, why did the old man of the third generation let him be a chunin? Naruto was still not convinced. Kakashi patted Naruto on the shoulder and said earnestly, since you are envious, then go and surpass him, don't be lazy all day long. Do you think your talent is not as good as Yu? Although Kakashi felt that he was indeed not as good as him, he was encouraging Naruto, so he could only say that. Naruto was indeed fooled. He clenched his fist towards Yu and said, Yu, it won't be long before I will become a chunin. Although you became a chunin a few days earlier than me, I will definitely become a jonin earlier than you. Don't slack off. I will soon surpass you. Yu naturally did not refute, and said with a smile, then I'll wait for this day. After Yu said this, Naruto felt that he would soon do it, and laughed, ha ha ha. This day will come soon. Only Sakura and Sasuke on the side looked at him speechlessly. They naturally saw that Kakashi and Yu were fooling Naruto. The two did not think that Naruto could surpass Yu. Even as arrogant as Sasuke, after seeing Yu's strength during this period, he did not have the slightest confidence that he could surpass Yu in the future. Sasuke felt that he could catch up with Yu. Even Sasuke felt that as long as he caught up with Yu, he would be lucky. After that, he will definitely be able to defeat Uchiha Itachi. In his opinion, Uchiha Itachi may not be stronger than Yu. No, after the previous battle, he felt that Yu might be stronger than Uchiha Itachi. However, seeing Naruto's confident look, both of them chose to remain silent and did not point it out. After a long time, after the few people finished eating, just as they were about to leave, Sasuke said, Yu, let's go to my house to practice together today. Yu, who was about to go home, was stunned for a moment. Kakashi, Naruto and Sakura were also stunned. Sasuke, who is usually aloof, would actually take the initiative to invite others to his house. Yu himself did not expect it. After Kakashi was absent-minded for a while, he smiled. He was naturally happy. He always hoped that several students in his team could get along well with Yu. Whether it was Naruto or Sasuke, their backgrounds were not simple. He hoped that Yu could become friends with them, which would be good for Yu in the future. One is the son of the 4th Hokage, and the other is the orphan of the Uchiha clan, who is now valued by the 3rd Hokage. As long as they become friends with Yu will be more relaxed in Konoha in the future. In addition, with him, and now the 3rd Hokage has made his attitude clear. As long as Yu doesn't commit suicide in the future, there will be basically no danger. Yu looked at Sasuke's somewhat uneasy look and wanted to laugh. I didn't expect Sasuke to be like this. But he didn't refuse. It's said that he went to Sasuke's house to practice, but in fact, Yu must be helping Sasuke practice. Now Sasuke has nothing to teach Yu, and there is nothing Yu needs. Of course, Yu is also more interested in the Uchiha clan. He didn't dare to go before, but now Sasuke took the initiative to invite him, which is justified. So Yu thought about it for a while and agreed. Sure. At this time, Naruto jumped out and said, I want to go too. Do you want to work hard secretly? I must go with you. But Sasuke didn't seem to want to take Naruto with him. But if Naruto was rejected, Yu might not go either. Sasuke had no choice but to say, whatever you want. Sakura also raised her hand tremblingly at this time, can you take me with you? Sasuke nodded. Naruto went, so it was impossible for him to reject Sakura. Kakashi was very happy to see this situation. But he would not go with them. Yuya said, alas, I should have gone with you, but I have to go buy books in a hurry, so I can't go with you. Yu smiled and said, Teacher Kakashi, take it easy, be careful not to be overwhelmed. Kakashi's mouth twitched slightly. He knew that Yu must have read his book. He said awkwardly, then you should practice well, I'll leave first. After that, he disappeared in front of the few people. Sasuke, Naruto and Sakura were all confused. They didn't know what Yu meant by what he said just now.